Hi y'all, good morning. The sun is up over here. It is cold as all get out here in East Tennessee, but we're gonna try to catch us some catfish today. We're going after blues and going after flatheads and hopefully get a little of both. So what I'm gonna do, I'm about to anchor us down on the spot that we're gonna be fishing this morning, and I'm gonna film the process of how I'm getting positioned to do it, because I think it can be beneficial to some of you who have asked about setting up on spots, finding places on the contour map, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you here before I get up here to it, what we're gonna be doing today. Right here on the map, you see them X's, those are old waypoints. There's some fish right there. If you notice right above that, there's a point that comes off, and those X's are right in an old creek channel that leads up off the tip of this point and up behind it, up in here. Now it's foggy right now, so you can't really see much. But that land mass you see right there above the water, it comes out this way, and that's where that point is. It's just the way the land, the contours form, it forms that point coming out into the water this way, and that creek channel, it goes back up in here. I want to put us in that old creek channel off the tip of that point. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my map card in addition to just basic 2D graph. This is just a cheap $200 graph I bought several years ago, but we're going to find that old creek channel, and I'm going to drop anchor right in the middle of it off that point. And this isn't a very just history, having fished here before in years past, I know this creek channel, the old original creek channel that was here before they flooded this and made the reservoir. It's not very wide. It was a smaller creek channel that led out, but that now, because it's still there, it hasn't silted in, that's a path. When fish move up either onto that point to feed or back into that creek to feed, it's a path for those cats to follow as they move up. And so we're gonna put our baits today in that path that they're going to be swimming. So I'm just pedaling along right now. We're 30 feet deep, and I'm gonna watch for the depth to start dropping off. Okay, here we go. We went from 30, now we're down to 35. We are in that old creek channel now, 37. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep going until it starts to come back up. And then I'm gonna back us up so that we're kind of in the middle of it there. We dropped down to 37, now we're right back up. See, we're right back up to 35. We're coming up. That creek, it's very, very narrow, but it's a perfect path to put our baits, because those fish, as narrow as it is a defined path for them. So I'm just gonna back us up just a smidge here. Now granted, I've got those places marked, waypoints from fishing here in the past, but I wanted to show you, let's say it was my first time out here and I was looking for that old creek, this is how I would find it. I would use the map card, and it's pretty accurate here where I'm fishing at today. But even if it wasn't, if it was off a little bit, I can still use the 2D and be able to see where the drop off occurs. You can find that pretty easily just by moving along and watching the drops. I'm just backing us up here a little bit. We're 36.6. I've already got our anchor rope here off the holder, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop us down. And there's some fish right there on the screen too, off the tip of this point. I see them. Look right here before I tie the rope off. You can see them fish right there. They were hanging out right here off the tip of that point in this creek channel. So anyway, y'all, I'm gonna tie this anchor rope off here. We're gonna get some baits cut up. We're going unedited today. Raw and uncut. This is gonna be a short trip for me, probably 3 or 4 hours. And so we're just gonna leave the camera rolling the whole time, and I'm gonna just tie off my anchor rope here, try to do it one-handed while I talk to y'all. Get this out of our way. We'll cut our baits up. I launched in a creek downriver from here, and I made a pretty good run to get up here, but on the way I had my bait rods out trolling up through here, and I caught us one fresh skipjack. I've got him right here in the floor right now, so we're gonna put him on here in a second. We're gonna do a head and a chunk to start with. We're gonna suspend baits off this point today and see what we can get, folks. I'm excited about it. This is a fun way to fish. It can be a very productive way to fish if you find yourself in a place where active fish are working through. And setting up how I have today, I'll tell you all that here in a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and get this skipjack cut up. You can see he's good and fresh, man. I just caught him a few minutes ago, so he's bleeding real good. This is a good bait, good quality bait. I've got another skipjack left over from yesterday's trip that I actually caught yesterday while we were fishing together. That was my last, should have been my last video. I busted a big flathead on that trip. And I was seeing some occasional skipjack busting out there where we were fishing, and I caught two. We used one on yesterday's trip. I took the other with me, and I trolled around a little bit on my way back after we were done catfishing. I got this line wrapped all around every which way, y'all. Lord Almighty. Y'all got that all tangled up. We are completely unprepared here. But anyway, I didn't catch any more skipjack yesterday, so I thought I'll bring bait rods with me again today. Troll my way out from the creek I launched in out to here, and sure enough, I busted one. So I'll take it. Every little bit helps, man. The fresher the better, and it don't get no fresher than this. So there it is, skipjack head. We've got a Carolina rig that's an 8-ounce egg sinker, swivel, 80-pound monofilament leader, 10-aught size circle hook, and then we've got our Catfish Sumo bait stalker fly a few inches below. I'm gonna drop that straight down. And our depth, because this creek channel, because it's so narrow right here where we're at, as the kayak sways today, whether it's wind or boat wake or whatever, we're gonna kind of be fluctuating. Right now, 37 feet. Where we're positioned over might be 35, 36, 37, depending on how the kayak is positioned in that moment. I dropped my anchor straight down. We don't have any flow out here. I dropped it straight down, and I've got my anchor rope tight so that the kayak can't move a lot. I don't want it moving a lot. I don't want it swaying all over creation, because I want my baits right down in that old channel. If I let out 200 feet of anchor line, God knows where the wind or boat wake would push us. Would be all up everywhere except where we wanted to be. So when I'm fishing like this, and I can do this, I can keep the anchor rope tight today because we don't have any flow. Now, if we were fishing in heavy current, we obviously couldn't do that. But in still water or in very low current, you can. And that's how I do it. And so this rig here, the exact same. Only difference is we got a chunk instead of the head bait. And of course, I've got these. These are my signature series Golly Whopper rods from Catfish Sumo. Got Shimano Dakota reels, 40-pound Catfish Sumo monofilament line. If you need some gear, shameless plug, we've got the Black Friday sale coming up probably around the time you're seeing this video. I'm filming this today. Let me see what day it is here. It's November 16th. So by the time you're seeing this, it's probably close to Black Friday, and big sales, folks, big sales. So anyway, I'm gonna put this skipjack, the rest of it, back here in the cooler. We've got another whole skipjack. We've got a half of skipjack that we didn't use yesterday. We've also got some live bluegill that we may or may not get to using out here this morning. I would prefer to use the skipjack right now because that's kind of my confidence bait. I know we're gonna have a good chance at busting a big fish if they work through on the skipjack. But anyway, y'all, my plan is to fish out here. We're gonna, and again, you can't hardly see right now because it's still so foggy. That's one of the reasons why I waited so late to come out here today. But that point, again, it just comes straight off, and it makes a pretty sharp point there. The way it's really defined. You've got a deeper, the ledge drops off over here to the main river channel. And out there, it gets pretty deep. I mean, you're talking 60, 70 feet deep, depending on our water level, which is falling because they're currently lowering the reservoir down for winter drawdown. But it drops off that ledge down there 60, 70 feet. Fish that are out there, they work up shallow to feed, whether it's on this point or back up in here in this creek that works back real shallow. They're coming this way. They're going to follow that path, man, and we're right there in it. So like I was saying yesterday, which was the last video, as long as the video turned out and everything, you put yourself in places like this. It's not if you're going to get bit, it's when. Will the fish turn on and become active while you're on the water? And the more time you can put into a spot, the more likely that is to happen. And so we're not putting a long time in today, but we're out here kind of in a morning session here where I hope fish will get active. Usually this time of year, you start going from in my experience anyway, you go from a sunrise bite up to like a 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock bite. It seems like it takes a little longer to kind of get them fish going in the mornings, but we're out here kind of in that time frame now. I think it's a little after 8 o'clock right now. I waited because one, it's cold. I want to get out here at the butt crack of dawn. And two, I wanted this fog that's thicker behind us and in the creek I was in than out here, but I wanted this to kind of burn off a little bit before coming out here because I'm filming this on a Saturday, so undoubtedly there's a bass tournament going on somewhere. They'll be zipping around 90 miles an hour flying by their GPS, and I ain't trying to die out here today, folks. Anyway, let me turn my battery pack on. I guess that would help the cause. And I'm going to just put y'all on the chest, and we're going fishing together today, man. This is unedited, raw and uncut. You're going to see everything as it happens out here from right now when we literally just dropped anchor. I'll show you how I'm setting up on a spot, to cutting bait, lowering it down, and hopefully reeling in some fish. And good news, if you're seeing this, we reeled in some fish today. I wouldn't subject you to 3 or 4 hours of not catching fish. Even though yesterday was kind of a slow day for numbers, but I busted that big flathead. A couple other small blues, got them skipjack there that we were casting toward as we were anchored down out there. I was fishing. I'd kind of thought today I might make a run downriver, but I actually made a run upriver, and I thought, because I really wanted to try out this creek that I launched in. I wanted to see if there were any skips in it, both on my way out here and when I head back today. I'm going to troll my way, pulling them jigs back through the creek and see if I can bust some skips in. I've got them here in years past around this time, but this year's been all thrown off because of the hurricane floodwaters and everything that they worked through. It just kind of threw off everything, I think. So I wanted to see what was going on. And also too, this ramp that I launched at in the back of that creek, I don't have to risk my life to get in it. With right now, the water level, they're lowering it for winter drawdown here. And this time of year, they start lowering it, and we're usually down 6 or 8 feet when it's all said and done. And they keep us that way through winter because we typically get more rain in the winter, right? Winter and early spring, and so that helps with flood control. That's what TVA does to prevent flooding. But when they first start doing the drop, all the mud and the algae that used to be underwater is now exposed. And with me launching the kayak, I have to walk back there to the kayak, shove it off the trailer into the water. And so that means I have to walk down that slippery, death-defying ramp. And I've had a lot of close calls through the years, folks. I actually fell a few months ago at a tournament. I got on some algae and busted my hind end, legs up in the air, bam, and slid down in the water. And I ain't trying to do it. It was one thing to do it back in the summer. That sucked, but you know, it's at least warm water. Out here today, water temperature is still 64 degrees, but hell my God, it's 40 degrees out here this morning. I ain't trying to get wet. So this ramp over here ain't nearly as bad. For whatever reason, the texture of it, it's like when they done the concrete on it, it's a rougher texture, and it don't seem to hold it holds mud, but it don't hold algae as bad, and that's what's really slick, that algae. I got that new trailer coming at some point. I've been talking about it for months. It was supposed to be when I paid the deposit on the trailer. I was told 90 days, which would have been in October, and here we are mid-November, and when the last update I heard, it was going to be late November to get it to me, but I'm out of town next week through the end of the month, so I can't accept delivery. So I don't know when I'm gonna get this damn trailer, but it'll help a lot because it's longer and it has these. The cool thing about why I wanted this particular trailer is it has in front of where the kayak sits, there's a standing platform. And then down each side of the kayak, you can walk back. It's got like a little walkway. And so you can step up on the trailer, walk back, shove it off without having to step on the slick ramps, essentially. So it's going to be a big help. And I was hoping to have it done before they started the drop here. But again, you know, any business, I've learned that if they tell you 30 minutes, it's going to be an hour. If they tell you 30 days, it's going to be 45. And in this case, the guy told me 90 days, and we're going to be 120, 150 days before I get the damn thing. That's just the way it is. Used to be good business. You would overpromise and overdeliver. Now everybody overpromises and unfortunately sometimes never deliver. So I'm excited about the trailer though. I hate that I've had to wait so long for it, but it's going to be awesome when I get it and make life so much easier. But anyway, y'all, we're going to set out here this morning, and if we have some fish get active during the morning hours, they're coming through us, man. Like, we are set up exactly where I want to be. I love fishing like this, not only because it's just the most fun way to catch fish in a kayak. There's no more fun way to hook a catfish than, you know, right now we're anchored 37 feet, which means we've got somewhere between 34 and 35 feet of line out. It is true tug of war when these fish nail a bait, man. It's awesome. It's so much fun. So it's fun being the number one reason I like doing this, but also by doing this how we have, our baits are precisely where I want them. That channel under us, that old creek channel, you saw it when I went over it on the graph. It drops off quick and then it comes back up quick. That old creek channel was not very big. And our baits are precisely in it. Now, if let's say we anchored up, but we could have anchored up on that point somewhere higher up on it, and we could have cast baits out, fan cast them, right? And sure, we might catch some fish doing that. Fish that are working up on that point, they come across our bait. We could have maybe caught some fish. But doing it how we have, it don't matter when those fish move up on that point. It don't matter which direction they go. When they move back in this creek channel, it don't matter where they go inside the creek. We've got them cut off. We've got them, no matter if they're going on the point in the creek, where they planned on going once they get up there, it don't matter. We got them cut off. So any fish working in and out of here today, they're coming through us. I love places like this. The tighter the creek channel, the better. Some creeks, like the one we were at yesterday, similar concept to how I set up. But the creek channel, the old creek channel, it was so wide. If you're on one side of it and fish are following the other contour around, if you ain't got flow, current there to disperse your scent, they may not find it. They may not even know you're there. But you get these tight creeks like this, smaller creek channels, man, it don't matter how fish are working up, they've got to come through us. And that, I love places like this. Now, some of these creeks, when you're looking at a contour map, whether it's on your graph or you got an old paper map or you're studying on your computer, you'll see creeks like this, and it'll show on your contour map a clearly defined creek channel that was there before they made the reservoir. I'm on Tennessee River, so we were a series of reservoirs. When TVA built all of the dams throughout the river system, the water level came up, some places a lot. And so things that used to be above water are now below. And you'll see places on the map, like these old creek channels, just for instance. And on the map, it'll show a clearly defined channel, but you get out there on the water and you start looking for it on your graph, a lot of times you won't be able to find that channel. You'll scan over it, you'll go over it with your electronics, but it won't be there anymore. And it could be a couple things. One, it may be just time and the sediment and stuff, it's silted in. And so you don't have that channel, the actual channel anymore. It just doesn't really exist. The other thing too, some of these places, we don't know really how the creek was before it was flooded. Like, did it always have water going through it? Was it just like a water runoff area during heavier rains? Like, because that's going to determine what kind of bottom you're going to have there, right? Like, is that creek channel, is it going to have like a rocky bottom? Is it going to just be mud? Because, I mean, you got to have a channel. If you can't find that clearly defined channel, let's say we didn't have it here, we could still fish this area because we got a nice point. We'd set up off the end of this point. But it wouldn't matter so much about the setting up how we have, because if that channel's not there, then those fish don't have that path. Then we're just trying to figure out at what point when they come out of the main channel out here in deeper water, where are they going to hit that point first? That's what we would be trying to figure out in that situation. But it gets much easier when it's like it is today and you've got that path that you know they're taking. Because they will take it, folks. Man, if you've got something that's in a world where everything's the same, and underwater, I mean, it's dark down there, everything looks the same. If you've got something that's different, that stands out, fish are going to find it. That's why crappie fishermen sink brush piles. And fish move along, boom, okay, here's home, here's cover for us down there, right? You work a ledge and you find a old sunken tree that's rested there on the bottom. It'll oftentimes hold fish. As they move up and down the ledge, they will oftentimes pause and rest there on whatever it is that's sank. So it's no different when you've got these pathways, man. If it's there, fish are going to take it. So again, it's not, you set up on a place like this, it's not if you get bit, it's when. And that's where the luck comes into play. It's not lucky how we've set up here today. I talked about this kind of yesterday, luck and fishing and whatnot. It's not luck how we've set up. I can open up a contour map. I can find 50 places just like this. And we can get ourselves positioned appropriately. The luck comes into play as far as being on the water when fish are going to get active. I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know when they're going to turn on and move up. You can be in the right spot. You can do everything right, have the right bait, the right spot. If your timing is off, you're not going to get bit. You can't catch fish that aren't there, right? So we got to get a little bit lucky to be out here, to be on the water when these fish turn on and become active. And according to Buck Perry, he believed fish turned on and become active once to twice a day, depending on weather, season, water conditions, etc. So, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to all turn on at once and all go feed at once, but you do see that happen sometimes. Like you might get a bite here, get a bite there, a little downtime, maybe another bite, and then all of a sudden, you'll have a 15, 20, 30-minute stretch where you just got rods going down nonstop. You're getting hit, and you just got a pod of fish working through, and that's because there was a number of fish, a school of fish that just turned on and they all moved up to feed at once. That's awesome when that happens, but you got to be on the water when it does. And the longer you can put in, the more likely that is to happen. So I promise you, if we set out here, if we camped on this spot for 24 hours, give it a full 24-hour morning, afternoon, evening, nighttime cycle, it wouldn't matter when those fish were feeding at the time. We would be here to do it, right? But I don't fish that way. I'm not a camper. I can't do long hours in the kayak. Wouldn't want to, even if I could. I try to set up during time periods where I feel like I have the best opportunity to hit one of those feeding windows. I like mornings most of the time, although this time of year, fall, winter months, when it gets cold like it is today, I start typically pushing my trips back some. But what I found is it don't really, I mean, there's exceptions to the rule, but it don't really pay off as much to get out here before dawn. When the water temperature starts to drop, once you get into winter, there's something big splashed right over here beside us. Because again, for whatever reason, it seems like those fish, it seems like that morning bite gets pushed back a little bit. It's more of a mid to late morning bite than a dawn bite. I don't know why that is, but it just seems to be that way. And so I try to still hit those time periods. And so even though I don't fish particularly long hours, most of my trips, 3, 4, 5 hours long, I try to time it to where I'm hopefully going to hit an activity window. Sometimes it don't work out. And again, if you're on the right spot at the wrong time, you ain't getting bit. You're just going to get skunked. Now, whereas if you're trolling or drifting or dragging, maybe you run into some fish. You cover enough water. If we were trolling half a mile an hour for 4 hours, that's 2 miles of ledge we could potentially cover, or creek channel. There's a good chance we run into some fish during that time period. But again, I enjoy doing what we're doing right here, and so that's why I typically do it. And setting up how I do, I tend to get more flatheads doing this than I do any of the other techniques. And this time of year, being November here, water temps starting to fall, fish are feeding up. It's a good time to bust flatheads like we did yesterday. And so this is how I like to do it. And so anybody out there that's wanting to do things kind of how I do, I'm hoping what I showed you here earlier as far as setting up, hopefully that's beneficial to you. You know, everybody's got their own style. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. I didn't used to be able to do this. One, I didn't know how to read a contour map in my younger days, but two, I didn't have the patience for it. I would anchor down on a spot, cast out baits. If I didn't get bit 20, 30 minutes, I was gone. I couldn't sit there. I didn't have the patience for it. I'd be tapping my feet like, oh, I'm in the wrong spot. I got to go. Ain't no fish there. I got to get out of here. Over the course of time, having done this, having learned how to read the map, having had success doing this, I have developed confidence. And now I don't care if I go a while without getting bit. I don't care if I pull up on a spot and I don't see fish anymore, or when I get there, I don't care. Because I know if I can get myself in the right place, those fish that may not be there now, they're coming. I don't know when they're coming, but they're coming. And instead of me trying to go to them, I let those fish come to me. And so that's what I like to do. And because I know they're coming at some point, it's given me the confidence and the patience to ride a bite out, to ride it out for as long as it takes. And sometimes, I can't tell you how often this has happened, but you set on the water, you set on a spot for 2, 3, 4 hours, nothing's going on. I mean, it's deader than damn it. And it's like a light switch goes off, and you start having rods go down. And it's because those fish work through. They were feeding, they come up, and boom, you're sitting there waiting on them when they do. And you got fresh bait on that they're looking for anyway, you're going to get bit. So I'm hoping that happens out here this morning. Yesterday was a slow day. We got the big flathead. We got a couple other blues. But it was slow. It was a slow day as far as numbers goes. The 2 blues that we got, they were covered in mud. They had mud from their belly to their back where they had been kind of buried down on the mud bottom there. They'd just been super inactive. And that was a concern yesterday. I thought, well, maybe it's kind of an afternoon bite right now. We had a cold front come through 2 days ago. Had a little rain. We had this temperature drop. I didn't think it would necessarily affect the fish that I was going for yesterday because your atmospheric changes when these fronts come through, that's only felt down to about 15 feet deep in the water column. Beyond that, it's more stable. And the fish I was going after yesterday, I was expecting them to be coming out of 60 to 70 feet deep of water and moving up to about, I can't remember where we were at, 40 something feet with the water level where it is yesterday. But it just wasn't happening. Those fish weren't active. They weren't turning on. And then last night we had the full moon. It looked full. You know, the full moon looks full for 2 or 3 days. I don't know when the actual full moon is, but I went out to pee off my patio last night. I look up at the sky. The moon's full. I don't typically do well on the full moon for catfish. If I do bust fish or big fish during the full moon, it's usually during the daytime hours after the moon is no longer visible in the sky. So that may play a role in our bite today. But again, if you're seeing this, spoiler alert, we got on some fish at some point. Some fish worked through. So it's just a matter of putting in your hours, man. You got to log hours. That's the thing you don't see on edited catfishing videos. It's one of the reasons why I've kind of gotten away from it. You don't see that. You see the highlight reels. You see me telling you what I'm doing, dropping the baits down, and the next clip you see I'm reeling in a fish, and it looks like bites just nonstop action. That's not how catfishing works, folks. Some days, sure, I'm going to have 2 or 3, 4 days a year where it's just nonstop action, man. I'm in the right place at the right time. There's a bunch of fish there, and you're just getting constant fish. Those days are awesome. It doesn't work like that all the time. You're talking 2 to 5 days a year. You're going to find yourself in that situation if you're lucky. Most of the time, you're going to log some hours, and you're going to have downtime between bites. And where I'm fishing at today, this body of water, I'm not expecting a lot of fish anyway. I'd like to average 1 bite an hour. So if, let's say we fish 3 hours today, I'd like to catch 3 fish, maybe 4 fish. That's kind of what I'm shooting for. Now I'm hoping 1 or 2 of them are big, but we're not going to have a 30 fish morning out here on this body of water. Like it's not going to happen here. And it's a good thing for us it's not going to happen because we don't have enough bait to do it anyway. We've got the baits on, the rest of that other half of skipjack, which I think we can get probably 2 more baits out of him. We got another whole skipjack that's a larger one, so we'll get 3 to 4 baits out of him. And then we've got our bluegill, which we can either use them live or cut them up. It don't matter. With me only using 2 rods in this kayak, I'm in my pedal kayak. This is kind of my basic bare bone setup. I like having premium baits on those 2 rods since I only got 2. And so in this situation, the better baits that we have is going to be our skipjack head and our skipjack chunk. Now yesterday, all 3 fish came on the chunk. The head didn't get messed with all morning. They clearly showed a pattern, a preference to the chunk. But we've got both options for them. Don't matter what they want, we got them both covered. Two different cuts of bait, super fresh. So if we don't get bit today, it's not because of our bait. Could be wrong time, it could be moon, could be the water falling, water conditions, but it won't be because of our bait, at least not initially. Now, once we run out of this and we have to switch over to the bluegill, well, that changes things. But we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I'll tell you this though, folks, I'm drag-ass tired today. I stayed up super late last night. Normally I go to bed pretty early. I'm normally in bed by 10 most nights. Last night I stayed up till like 1 o'clock watching Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. I don't want to call it a fight because it was more of a WWE exhibition type thing. What a joke, man. I'm pissed off at myself for staying up to watch it. I know this is old news to you because you're seeing this video a week or two after it's filmed, but that fight, you can't tell me that thing wasn't scripted, staged. I mean, Mike clearly ain't got it no more. I mean, hell, he's an impressive shape for a 58-year-old man, for sure. But Jake Paul could have destroyed him if he wanted to. He took it easy on him. He didn't embarrass Mike. That whole thing was set up, folks. It was a work. It's no different than a WWE wrestling match where the outcome is predetermined. Now, thankfully, I'm enough of a pessimist that I thought that's what would happen. I didn't want it to happen. I wanted them to both go out there and try to win. You know, they called it a professional match. That's what it was sanctioned as. I wanted them to treat it as such. Both go out there and try to beat the other. That's clearly not what happened. So the pessimist in me thought that this was just a money grab, publicity stunt, that it would be like a passing of the torch moment, like when The Rock beat Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania a few years ago. And, you know, it's just the old generation passes the torch to the new generation. I thought that's what it would be. And I thought it would go the distance. Jake Paul would win in a decision. And guess what? On DraftKings, they'd let you place that bet. So I did. I didn't bet much. I bet $5. But still, I won, by God. My pessimism paid off. My pessimism got me a few extra dollars in my gambling account so that I can lose it on a football game tomorrow. But it's very disappointing in myself that I fell for it. I stayed up late. Netflix continued, it buffered the whole damn time. Thankfully, the women's match that was on before Tyson and Paul, oh, we got a fish. Something just hit it right here. We got a little bit of weight on our rod tip. He's got it. He's got it, man. He's pulling. That's a slow pull, too. That's a slow pull. That's a slow pull. First fish. I felt him thump it, and the rod, he just slowly started going off with it. We'll see what this is. This has potential to be a blue or a flathead with the way he hit it. I'm thinking it's probably a blue the way he's fighting right now. It's a blue, but that's a fun sizer. Boy, he's barely fought on the way up. I just kind of pulled him up. I'm gonna give him a little slack and let him tire himself out here a little bit. Because I know he ain't done. He can't be done. Unless he's tired too from staying up and watching that fight last night. That ain't a bad way to start off the trip, folks. A little fun-sized blue. We still got our head bait on there too. I'm gonna put my glove on backwards here. It's a left-handed glove. I'm gonna wear right-handed. Yeah, this right here, folks, is very encouraging. Because yesterday, we didn't get our head bait touched. Nothing messed with it. And today, it's already first fishes eat it, and that's our bigger bait too, so that's encouraging. Very encouraged right now. Yeah, I knew you wasn't done, fish. I knew you wasn't done. He barely fought on the way up. He's going to get up here and show out now. He saved his energy. I kept hoping Mike Tyson was saving his energy last night. That wasn't the case. Come here, fish. Open up. Lord. I wish you'd pop yourself free. That's what I wish. You're going to get me soaking wet, and it's cold out here. All right, come on. You come in here and act like somebody. I'll drop that bait back down. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and drop that bait right now before we hold him up. Needs to be more efficient. I see a couple other squiggles there on the graph, so we're gonna turn that graph off in a minute too. We don't need it now that we're set up. Okay, let me set y'all up here in the front seat. Lord, he's got water onions. He splashed y'all too. Let me get you cleaned off here. Hell, I think I made it worse. There we go. I think I smeared it instead of cleaned it. Okay. Hold yourself up there, fish, and act like somebody. Yeah, this fish here's got more fight in him than Mike Tyson does at this point. Come here. You could have, why didn't you act that way when I hooked you? Bambi just met its maker over there, folks. It's hunting season. There it is. If we can get him to calm down finally. Little fun-sized blue. Not a bad start for fish number one. Get out of here. Go show out down there now. You can flop around all you want to outside, fish. Yeah, folks, not bad. Fish number one, we'll take it. It's a good start. Very encouraging that he hit the head bait, the larger bait that we have out. I'm hoping today will maybe be a little bit more active. We're 2 days post cold front, so the longer we get removed from that, especially if that's what shut them down, you know, they got to eat. They're not going to starve to death, folks. They're going to turn on and eat at some point, no matter what the situation. So, all right, no skunk today. Let's go ahead and give it a fist pump. Got our bait back down there. We'll stick with that head bait a little while longer. It still looked okay. The fresher baits do bleed out a little quicker, I think. But with us being so limited on bait, we're going to leave it on for a little while longer, and then we'll cut that other skipjack. Now, if we see them, like yesterday, we saw some skipjack coming up, sporadically busting. I stood up, started casting, and we'll do that today if we see any, but that one skip I hooked coming up there, it was way back in the creek, so I didn't see anything going on out here. I think our fish today that we get are going to be working up into this creek behind us here. And I'm going to go ahead too and turn this graph off. As I've showed you how we set up, we've went through all that. You can see some marks here. Them solid lines is our baits. That red mark coming up there, that squiggle, that's a fish under our baits there, just coming up, taking a look. Don't know what kind of fish, just picking up on the graph there. It's some kind of fish that's come up and looked at our baits. But that's what it looks like. And I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off because it just saves on battery for me. It's less charging I have to do. You know, if I keep that thing on 30 minutes to an hour, I only have to charge it maybe once a month. And it ain't a big deal. I talked about that yesterday. It ain't a big deal to charge a battery. I just don't want to do it. When I get home, I just want to be done. I don't want to have to piddle around and charge batteries, and I really don't want to, whatever happens today, whether we use these bluegill in the live bait bucket or not, they're getting dumped out when I leave because I'm not fooling with that live bait bucket another day. That's another thing I hate carrying around, because I gotta take it out, put it on the porch, switch aerators. I got one that plugs in like an aquarium aerator. plug it in. I got to put a frozen water bottle in there to cool it down, keep them fish healthy. So it's a pain in the ass. That's what I'm getting at. But the other day when I went out on a bait run there, ultralight fishing, bluegill we got a bunch of bluegill and one skipjack. So well, that's what we had. That's what I had to go with. But fortunately, yesterday we were able to get enough skipjack while we were out there to keep us going through the trip using skipjack. And then today, at least we got skipjack to start. So may not end up needing the bluegill. They may get a pardon, be set free. But yeah, folks, I stayed up too late last night. I got suckered in like the rest of the free world. And apparently everybody was watching too, because hell, it shut Netflix down. I kept having to get out of it and get back in because it kept buffering and freezing up. And I thought, boy, they got problems. They're supposed to have the football games on Christmas Day too. And I'm like, boy, that's another big event that people's going to be tuning in for. They better get their act together over at Netflix. Yeah, I think that whole thing was a work. It was staged, outcome predetermined. They were going to go out there, get a big check, dance around a little while. Jake Paul was going to take care of him, not embarrass him. That was going to be that. And we all fell for it. And it really ain't, I mean, it ain't no different than a wrestling match. I mean, hell, I grew up a wrestling fan. Hell, last night, we were waiting on the fight to come on. I turned over. I watched, it was one of them mid-card bouts. I forget the boxers, but I didn't have no interest in it. And I knew the woman's fight was still coming on. Afterwards, I turned over. I scrolled through YouTube. I watched Undertaker versus Hulk Hogan from Survivor Series back, hell, I was a kid. I don't remember what year it was, but I was a kid. I sat there and watched that. And you know that, again, WWE is predetermined outcomes, right? But it's entertaining. The crap I watched last night was not entertaining. It wasn't entertaining at all. So, oh, well, we got more action right here. Something's after that head bait. It's acting like a dink, though. Well, okay, it got hit a little harder then. Okay, he's got it, by God. I thought it was a dink. It may be, but if it is, he got the business end of the hook. Fish number 2 on this head. He may have got that fly too, potentially. Although this one does feel a little better than the last one now that I'm pulling on him. It's definitely a blue. I felt him roll. He's fighting harder than the last one, folks. Yeah, he's fighting harder. He's going to spin us around right into the sun. Get your sunglasses on. I'm going to have to get mine in a minute. It's a wonder I didn't blow them damn things out. I had them in the kayak under my seat yesterday. And it was a cloudy, dreary day. I never needed them. And I forgot to put them back in the car when I got back to the ramp yesterday. It's a wonder I didn't lose them going home. Or coming out here this morning. I went to grab my glasses. When I was getting the kayak set up, I'm like, oh crap, where they at? It's in the kayak. This in here, I think, has got potential to be a little better than the last one here, folks. I'm seeing some bubbles coming up now. He's in something. Oh my God, is he in my anchor rope? Oh my gosh, I think he got in the anchor rope. There's nothing down there for him to get hung in except the anchor rope. He spun us around and got in it. I'll give him a little slack, see if he'll come out of this thing, because I sure don't want to pull that anchor. That means we got to turn on our graph again. And we'll have to get repositioned and all. And I really don't want to do that because when we first drop that anchor down, it typically takes a little while before you get bit, because I mean, you just drop, even if there's fish there, you just drop that thud right on their head. By damn, he's in it. He's still on there. I see the bubbles coming up. I feel him. He must have just got down there and swam, I can't get my words out, swam laps around that rope. All right, well, let's go ahead and turn our graph back on. It can be loading up while we pull this damn thing in. Y'all done a crappy job reeling in this fish to let him get hung in that rope like that. Y'all gotta give us some slack here. Y'all gotta learn how to land a fish better than that, folks. All my critics are gonna be like, hell no, Justin, you wouldn't be anchoring that anchor rope there so close to your lines. I'll be hearing about this in the comment box. You watch and see. Okay, let's reel this damn thing in. Pull him in by hand. That's a good fish too. Holy cow, that's a good fish. He's bigger than I thought. He's probably gonna pop free. Oh, he looks like he's hooked pretty good. That's a good fish, man. Lord, he's got the stinger fly. He's got the stinger fly in the damn rope too. Let me try to get the stinger fly free from the anchor rope before it buries in there anymore. Ah, hell, it's buried in there. We'll have to cut that. Well, folks, that's a pretty nice blue. He's caused us a world of problems here, but that's a pretty nice fish. We'll just have to deal with a little tangle here in the anchor rope to get it, by gosh, but it's worth it. Okay. Come on in. Come on in, you old thing, you old thing. Let's unhook you, and we'll deal with the anchor rope in a minute once we're done with you. There we go. Get all this line wrapped around you. Lord, you got your fin. You got that fin. I got the hook point wrapped in the damn. What a mess, folks. What a mess. Let's get our graph going there. Let me hold this thing up, and we're going to have to fix ourselves. We're going to have to, this fish caught us. That's a world of problems. But he's a good one. Okay. There it is. Camera's crooked, ain't it? There. Nice. Nice blue. I thought it was a dink. When he hit it, I really thought it was a dink. And then it got bigger. It may have been a dink hit it, and then this one come up and nailed it and snatched it from the dink or something. That could have happened. What a mess. Get out of here, you old devil. Trying to splash me on the way out. Okay, well, let's fix ourselves back here. Fortunately, we ain't drifted off too far. Man, I'd fist pump that one, but he's caused us too many problems to make me want to do it. Okay, let's see if we can pull in our rope again here. Let's pull the anchor in, get our line out. Lord Almighty. See, this is the problem with unedited videos right here. If this was an edited video, I could hide all this. Y'all would never know that even happened. I'd just edit that whole fish out. I would have never made a fool of myself. Let's see if we can. Okay, we're definitely not getting the fly out. It's buried in that anchor rope, so let's just cut the fly. Ain't gonna worry about that. It's got her. Well, we have to cut our line too, because it's all wrapped around that fly, and if that went through the... Let's see what we got here. We may be able to see if we can, yeah. I don't think we're going to be able to, I think we're going to just need to cut this. It's all right. Where's my sinker at? Let's just pull the whole damn thing in. There we go. Okay. Let's cut this. What a man. Where my damn scissors at? I got a new pair of pliers and they don't cut worth a crap. What a mess, folks. Why'd y'all do this to me? This is plumb embarrassing what y'all have caused right here. This is plumb embarrassing. I'm supposed to be professional. And I got a tangle of the ages here. Hell, we'd probably done caught 57 more fish too. You know damn well we would have. You know we would have by now. Okay, so we got our leader. We'll have to switch that head now for sure. We've got our leader. We've got our... Let's cut that too, because it's all wrapped around the line. Okay, we've got our rod free. We've got our leader free. Let's pedal back over here and get ourselves back in position. I'm gonna leave this rope this anchor kind of half down. What a nightmare. It's always something. All right, let me get us back over here where we need to be. We didn't drift off far though. Get us about right in 37.8. Okay. Well, just like that, we're re-anchored where we need to be. Let's tie us off again. Next fish, y'all, if I ever let y'all reel in another one, you better get better control over it than what you done with that one. Because you let that fish just run roughshod all over you, and look what he done. He done set us back 10 minutes now. That fish done some. He got the last laugh on us, didn't he? Okay. Get our sinker back here. Tie that leader back on. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that other skipjack though. I'm gonna go ahead and just get us a fresh head on there. That's 2 now on the head. That's a little telling, I think. 1, that fish are more active today, and 2, that maybe they're showing a preference toward that head. I don't care. I don't care what cut of bait they want. That's why I give them options. Goodness gracious, let me try to thread that thing. There we go. Let me tie this back up. We'll cut another bait. Hopefully we don't embarrass ourselves no more today. Y'all on YouTube right now, y'all supposed to be professional. People look to you as a source of how things are supposed to look, not getting fish wrapped in anchor ropes and stuff. Let me put this here behind me. I'll throw that away when I get back. I'm gonna trim this off where that fly was. And my tag end. Okay. Okay, I think now, maybe, finally. I can't get the cutting board now. There we go. What did I do with that skipjack from yesterday? Let me get this out. There he is. I cleaned out my cooler yesterday and I stuck them in some bags. Couldn't get to it down in the cooler there. All right. So this is a 1-day-old skipjack here. Not quite as fresh as the one we used to start, but plenty fresh enough regardless. I'm gonna take these pliers and trim them fins off. I think sometimes when they eat these baits, I think sometimes them fins have potential to interfere with the hook setting properly. I like to cut them off. Well, 25 minutes later, we're back in the game, folks. It's a big loss of time right there, especially if we had some fish working through, but that kind of thing happens. That's fishing, man. If you're going to fish with a physical anchor, sometimes fish are going to get in it. That's especially true if you're fishing in a kayak and everything's close together. I could put an anchor trolley on this kayak. It wouldn't be very convenient to do with the design of this kayak, but it would move my anchor rope 3 feet further back behind me. Maybe that prevents that from happening, but it's not a problem that happens so frequently that I feel the need to do that. It always sucks when it does happen, but it don't happen often enough that you're like, oh, I just got to get rid of this anchor type thing. And even in my other kayak, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this thing back off now that we're reset. Even in the other kayak with the motor and spot lock and all that, you're still going to have problems like that from time to time, except the problems get worse. Because instead of a fish being in the anchor rope that you can easily pull up, instead you're wrapped around your prop and it's continuing to spin and wrap up your line, and then you got to crawl up to the front of your kayak and take your prop off, cut your line and all that. I've been there and done that. That's happened to me on live streams before. Back when I used to do live streams on this channel, I had a day, I remember the fish got me in that prop and I'm live. I had to put the damn phone down and crawl up to the front and try to cut that line. So it just happens, man. You got this kind of close proximity, both on your multiple lines that you have out, anchor ropes, if you got a motor, steel, everything's close together in a kayak. You just can't spread things out. It's going to happen. Tangles are part of the game. You get used to it. You learn to deal with it. It's not a huge ordeal. It sucks if you're like, if you've got a good bite going on and you got to pull that anchor rope up and you drift off from your spot, that sucks. Or if you get a big fish on and he works himself free on that anchor rope, that's always unfortunate, but it's not a huge deal 99.9% of the time. Just something that's part of the game. That anchor there that I pulled up, you can see it's a dumbbell. Everybody's got these fancy kayak anchors. I swear, if something says kayak before whatever the product is, add 25% to the price. I don't know why that is, but it just is that way. So I try to keep things cheap. When you're talking about dropping something down to the bottom of the river, I don't want to spend $50, $75 on a damn anchor. You can spend $15 on a dumbbell and hold yourself plenty good in situations like this where there's not, and truly, even if you did have a little current, I still use that dumbbell. I used to use a slip ring style anchor with a piece of chain when fishing in current, and then I'd just use the dumbbell when fishing slack water. But the dumbbell is easier to carry, and after I lost my last slip ring anchor, I went out and I was using and that's been a few years ago when that happened. I went out and started just using the dumbbell, And it holds pretty good in current, especially if you got a soft bottom. If you can drop that thing, you know, we're 37 feet here, but let's say you fishing 50, 60, 70 feet deep and you drop that thing down and it's got 50 plus feet to fall and it hits mud, it sticks. Now, if you're on a rocky bottom, it's not going to stick as well in that, clearly, and you're going to maybe get drug a little bit, or if you're on the edge of a drop, you might get pulled off a little bit more easily than something that's going to dig in. But for the most part, it does a good job for a $15 anchor. And I put zip ties, like those heavy-duty industrial zip ties. I put a couple of those around the grip there of the dumbbell and run a carabiner through, and then tie my rope to the carabiner. And that's how I connect it. And my anchor rope, I use a extension cord holder. They're $1 at the Walmart. And you would normally wrap an extension cord around. It's perfect for wrapping your anchor rope in a kayak. So my whole anchor setup, rope, anchor rope holder, dumbbell, it's less than $20. Again, you try buying a kayak anchor, they want $50, $75 for them damn things. And I'm not opposed to paying a premium for something that's worth paying a premium for. But when you're talking about a damn anchor, something you're dropping down to the bottom of the river that if you drop it on a snag, you're going to lose. I don't care what kind of anchor it is. I don't want to spend a bunch of money. That's not one of them things that I want to spend money on. If it's something that's going to truly help me, if it's something that's a truly superior product, I'll pay a premium for it. A lot of my kayak gear I pay a premium for, depending on what it is, but I'm not going to pay it on an anchor. Just not. And I've had some of these anchor companies in the past reach out and want to send me an anchor just to use it on video and whatnot. It's not one of them things that I want to sell to you all, you know. People use products because they see them in my videos, me having a good experience. And I don't want y'all wasting your money on that. I mean, if you want one of them fancy anchors, go for it. Hell, I ain't telling you how to spend your money. But I don't want people seeing me using that and thinking, well, that's the one I got to get. Not in that situation. Now, if you need some of these fancy golly whopper rods, buddy, hey, Black Friday sale coming up. CatfishSumo.com. Check it out. I don't know what they're going to be listing the sale price for, but they're always on sale on Black Friday. So, good time to stock up on terminal tackle, fishing gear, whatever you need. It's really a good time to get just about anything, any products you need. I don't really have anything big that I'm going to be buying this year on Black Friday, like not electronics or gadget-wise. I don't really have anything that's just I'm needing to get. The two big purchases I recently made, I bought an air purifier and I bought a litter robot. The air purifier I could have probably gotten cheaper had I waited, but it was worth it to pay a little extra now to appease the girlfriend, because I got these two new cats in the house. They were outdoor cats. They were at my neighbor's. She left. The damn things were starving. And I've rehabbed both of these cats. One of them is sweet as can be. The other one is turned into he's a jerk. But nevertheless, they're both part of the family now. Midnight and Marty. And so they're part of the family. What's this? Look right here. Something's splashing right here behind us. Let's just throw let's throw a skipjack rig for a second or two. What do you say? Well, if I can get the damn thing unhung. We've had all kinds of tangles today, ain't we? It must be the full moon. I don't know what that was coming up here behind us, but something was splashing right here. We'll make a few casts anyway. And you see no surface activity out here this morning. Even in the creek I launched in, I caught that skipjack, but I wasn't seeing them busting. Wasn't seeing shad flipping. I wasn't seeing nothing really going on. But something come up right here beside us, by gosh. Let's make 3 more casts. I'm gonna put this thing up. I don't mind sitting here casting endlessly if there's hope of catching something, but the fact we ain't seen nothing going on before that little splash don't give me much optimism. That hard not to throw a couple times though when you do see that. Wish Airplane Man would go on too. All right, well, good effort, folks, good effort. Nice try. This is my skipjack rods here. They're bass rods, 7-foot medium heavy bass rods. We got 30-pound braid, 15-pound fluorocarbon leader, and I've got 2 1/8 ounce jig heads. That's a crappie magnet plastic, white and chartreuse. Got 2 of them on. One on the bottom here, and then the other one's up there with the sabiki knot. That's what I run when I cast them, but most of the time I catch skipjack trolling. That's how I get most of them throughout the year. But yeah, Black Friday, I don't know that I'll be making any major purchases. The litter robot was a big purchase, but it was allegedly already, they'd started their Black Friday sale early, supposedly. If it's a bigger sale on Black Friday, I'm gonna be pissed about that, because I would have waited on that one. The air purifier I had to get now and make the house smell better. When you got 2 cats and a dog in a small space, you're gonna have some pet odors. But that air purifier, it's been a big help. You walk into my house now and you don't smell them. So it's done real good. I will look around though on Black Friday, see if there's anything I can't live without. I'm hoping some action figures get marked down. I've went down the rabbit hole this year, folks. I guess I'm going through a midlife crisis. I'm at that age. I mean, I'm 42 now, so I'm prime age to be midlife crisis. And I guess I'm going through my second childhood or something. Because earlier this year, I got on the topic of G.I. Joes. And I don't remember how I got on it, but I was talking about it on a video. And I remember I looked up on my phone, because I remembered from my childhood the first G.I. Joe I ever got. And I'm pretty sure I was 3 years old, because I remember I got it in my Easter basket. And it was the G.I. Joe action figure called Barbecue, the firefighter G.I. Joe. And so I looked it up, and that figure had come out in 1985. And so I would have been 3 years old there in Easter of 1985. And so that's one of my earliest childhood memories. And so I think I was probably 3. And that started my childhood, I guess, obsession with action figures. And I had just about every kind of action figure, folks. I had G.I. Joes, Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, He-Man, of course, a bunch of wrestling figures. I had all these things, right? I had a great childhood. And I still have all those things. They're at my parents' house. My G.I. Joes are at my house. And so anyway, I'm looking all this stuff up. And a few years ago, I guess, I think it's been a few years that they've been making them, they come out with these new G.I. Joes. And they're not the same size. The ones I had as a kid were like 3 inches, 4 inches, whatever. These are 6 inches. And they're very detailed. And they're super expensive too, like $25 a piece, or highway robbery. And some of the deluxe figure packages are more than that. The vehicle's like $100. I mean, it's pretty crazy. They're preying on us adults that are nostalgic and trying to relive our childhoods, what they're doing. I'm onto their games, but I've fallen for it hard because once I started looking at those figures, I'm like, man, these are pretty awesome. I think I'd like to have some. And my girlfriend bought me the barbecue figure, like the new version of it, the 6-inch version, and it's so cool. And so next thing you know, I've bought a few more here and there, some of my favorites that I had as a kid. I recently picked up Storm Shadow, the version 2, the one from 1988. They've made a new one of him, and it's awesome. And so Black Friday rolls around. I may be looking for some G.I. Joes potentially that I can't live without if they're on sale. I've also, and again, this is, I sound ridiculous. Just talking this out loud, I know I sound ridiculous. Like, why the hell am I doing this? But I've also been buying some other figures. I've gotten really into the WWE Superstars line. It's a Walmart. You can only get them at Walmart. I mean, Amazon, they're on there, but like they're stocked from Mattel, the company who makes them, at Walmart. They're like a Walmart exclusive. But they're like He-Man body types, but they're wrestling figures. And we were over at Ollie's. Me and my girlfriend went over there. Ollie's is a store. I don't know if they're nationwide or not, but we've got a couple of them in my area. There's one in Knoxville and there's one in Maryville. And the store Ollie's, they get like closeout. It's like a bargain store. Like they just get, you go in there, you never know what they're going to have week to week. They've got a variety of stuff. I mean, it could be they buy closeouts, stores close and stuff. So they might have Tide washing powders on sale this week, or a load of books this week, or car parts or whatever, but they always have a bunch of toys. And since I've been super into action figures this year, you can find them really cheap over there. So we went to Ollie's a while back, and they had the Nature Boy Ric Flair WWE Superstars figure, like the He-Man version. And you know I'm a big Ric Flair fan. I mean, I love me some Nature Boy Ric Flair. And so I'm like, it's $3.99. How do I know? These figures, they're $20 at Walmart, $3.99 at Ollie's. And so I'm like, I gotta buy Ric Flair. And so I did. And while I'm there, I noticed they also have, because all these toys from my childhood have come back out again. These companies, they're just, whether you go down Walmart toy aisle right now, it's wrestling figures, Ninja Turtles, the Marvel, the Spider-Mans, stuff like that, your Batmans, and He-Man. That's what's hot right now. And so I'm at Ollie's, and there's Panther, you know, Skeletor's cat that he would ride, and I'm like, oh my God, he's $9.99. I've got to get Panther. And then, of course, once I've went down that rabbit hole, now I've got a Ric Flair action figure. Well, I got to have somebody for him to wrestle, so I've got to get another one. And then I can't have Panther without a Skeletor figure to set on it, so now I got to buy Skeletor. And once you buy Skeletor, well, hell, you got to have He-Man. But He-Man can't fight Skeletor and Panther, so I got to have Battle Cat. I've wasted so much money on toys lately, folks. It's ridiculous. I'm stupid. I know I am. I'm saying this out loud, and I realize how stupid I sound. But there's something about that He-Man toy body style. Like, it was, and I was real little when I had He-Man. But I remember having He-Man and Battle Cat and Moss Man and Beast Man and all those. That body, there's something about it. It just fits your hand good as a kid, and it fits your hand good as an adult. And these WWE wrestlers that are the He-Man body style, I never had those as a kid. When I was a kid, when I was real little, they had the LJN figures, like the big rubber figures. I think they were like 6 inches, 8 inches. And you couldn't pose the arms or nothing, like whatever pose they were, you just had. But that was another one of my early childhood memories. I don't remember how old I was, but I remember it was Christmas morning, and I woke up and Santa Claus had got me the LJN wrestling ring, and I had wrestlers all the way around. I had Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik, Hillbilly Jim, Big John Stud, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. They were just all lined up around the ring. It was awesome. And then later on, there was the plastic figures. I can't remember what they were called, from Hasbro. And they would have like a move that they would do, like Jake the Snake. He would have a punch or something, like you'd pull his arm back and it'd be spring loaded and you could punch with it. I had some of those. And then they started coming out with the larger figures there and stuff, but they never had the He-Man style when I was a kid. But now they have them, and they're pretty awesome. And they're getting some of these old guys from my childhood. Like my girlfriend, I didn't see this when we were there at Ollie's. They only had Ric Flair, but she had stopped by another time, and they had Bam Bam Bigelow for $3.99, so she bought it for me. And so now I can wrestle Ric Flair versus Bam Bam Bigelow. But they're awesome, man. And so I'm kind of into those. I don't know why. Again, I hope this is just a phase with me. I hope this isn't a long-term thing. I hope it's like most men, they go through a midlife crisis. They divorce their wife and get a much younger girl, and they buy a Corvette. I don't know why I haven't done that, but I just, for some reason, I'm going through my second childhood. And so I've got some G.I. Joes set up, I've got some He-Man set up, and I've got my wrestling figures set up. And I can't play with them. I don't remember how. Like when I was a kid, man, like that Storm Shadow figure I had from 1988, he was in every battle I ever had as a kid. Every single G.I. Joe battle, Storm Shadow was a part of it. That's what I did as a kid, man. I played action figures. I don't know how to do that as an adult. I've tried. I mean, I'm holding these figures. I'm trying, but I like wrestling Bam Bam Bigelow versus Ric Flair. It's a little bit easier because you can just go through the motions with the moves and stuff. But like the imagination part of it, I just don't really have it anymore. I want to have it because I think my childhood was just such a great time in my life. I think it is for most people. I mean, when you're a kid, you don't have the stresses of the world on you. I mean, some kids do live bad parents and unfortunate lives and bad circumstances and stuff. But I was fortunate in that I had two loving parents that wanted me, and we didn't have money as a kid. I mean, as far as extravagant stuff, we didn't live in a nice house. I went from a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, probably 800 square foot house. We moved from there to a single wide trailer to finally a double wide trailer. So like we didn't have money, but I never wanted for anything. I mean, I had action figures. I got to do what I wanted. I didn't know that my folks didn't have money, and I didn't have those stresses on me. They protected me from that. It wasn't until you start getting a little older that you realize really how the world works. And so that time period from being a small child up to whenever it is that you kind of get exposed to the world, there's I guess you're naive, you're innocent, I guess. You're protected from it, and it's great, and it's easily the best time of my life. I mean, don't get me wrong, I live a good life now. I live a great life now. I'm out here fishing right now, and this is a job, if you will. I live a great life. But nothing, no matter what happens, no matter how good it gets for me from here on, it'll never replace those early childhood years where I wake up, my meals are cooked for me, I go play G.I. Joes out in the creek, out in the woods all day. I come in, my dinner's prepared for me. I mean, you don't get better than that, folks. And I guess as I'm getting older and I'm going through my midlife crisis, I'm searching, I'm seeking what I had as a child, which you cannot replicate. But the relics of the past, these action figures, your He-Man, your G.I. Joe, your wrestlers, these toy companies know that people like me exist and they market to us and it's working. And I know it's a marketing scheme and I'm still falling for it. It's like the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight last night. Like I knew it was going to be a joke, but I still tuned in till 1 o'clock in the morning. Buffering and all, I stuck with it. I just can't help myself. And it's the same thing with these toys. So come Black Friday, I may make a purchase or two. I don't know. We'll see if something gets marked down on sale. I've got a handful of them that I just feel like I have to have for some reason. So, yeah, folks, that's where I'm at in my life. I'm buying toys. And God bless my girlfriend. She's putting up with it. She's even encouraging. I mean, she bought me that barbecue figure. And it's awesome. And she bought me Bam Bam Bigelow. It's amazing, though, the price differences when you go at Walmart. Them wrestlers, for instance, they're $20 at Walmart. At Ollie's, they're $3.99. And they have both the Maryville and Knoxville Ollie's locations have 1 million Ric Flairs. Like, they must not have sold any of them at Walmart because there's 1 million. They can't give them damn things away. And it's amazing the price difference. Yeah, $3.99 though. I saw Ric Flair. I'm like, I got to get it. And then once I opened him up in the package, I'm like, this is cool. And I'm opening them up too. I know these toys, you're supposed to leave them in the package. They're more valuable that way. I don't care about what they're valued at. I want to open them up. I want to hold them. I want to get a G.I. Joe. I want to put the weapons on him and stand him up. That's the value in it for me. I mean, my old toys are probably worth a fair amount at this point. I don't have any desire to sell them. But, I mean, when I was a kid, it's the same way. I mean, I wanted to open stuff. Remember when I was a kid, my mom got them starting lineup action figures. I think it was 1988, I believe, when they came out. Crazy, I can't remember yesterday half the time, but I can remember 1988 like it was yesterday. And my mom at the time, I mean, I was a little kid, she got into collecting baseball cards, and I was collecting baseball cards too as a kid. And them starting lineup figures come out, and she wanted to keep them in the packages. And I talked to her and begged, and I finally got to open them, starting lineup. So I got my Dale Murphy and Ozzie Smith and Pete Rose and Mike Scott and Mike Schmidt and George Brett. I had all them starting lineup action figures, man. And they're probably worth a lot more today in the packages. But, man, when you're a kid or when you're a 42-year-old man who's reliving his childhood, like, you want to open this stuff. But most of these things, like if you go to Walmart today, and I don't even like going to Walmart, but I've went more lately just for the wrestling figures. I was fully done with Walmart a few months ago. Like, I didn't think I was ever going to have to go back. And now that I'm into these damn wrestlers, I'm having to go. But most of the figures they have are made the same way as they were when we were kids. Like, if you look at the Ninja Turtles, they look the same today as they did in 1988. The He-Man, there's some newer versions of He-Man, but like their retro line looks the same today as it did when I was 3, 4, 5 years old. The G.I. Joes, though, are different. They're not the small figures anymore. Now they're 6-inch, they're highly detailed, and I gotta admit, I'm kind of into them. I think they're more for standing up, like not playing with, because they have so many weapons and their hats fall off and glasses and stuff. But they're pretty awesome. So it's possible, folks, come Black Friday, I may be making a purchase or two. Not on stuff I actually need, but for some reason, buying action figures. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I don't know what's wrong. I hope I outgrow it soon. Or if I can't outgrow it, I hope I at least remember how to play with these things. I've tried playing with them, folks. Which I know sounds even more ridiculous when I'm saying this out loud. I've tried, as a 42-year-old man, I've tried playing with toys again. But it's hard. It's just hard to do it. And here's the other thing. Now, I'm in pretty good shape, physically and stuff. But when you're a kid, I could lay in the floor for hours playing with toys. I mean, just laying there. Be on your side, up on an elbow, playing, setting stuff up, sitting cross-legged. I mean, as a kid, you can do that. As an adult, you get down on the floor and, you're up on your elbow for 10 minutes and you go to get back up. Hell, you're stove up for a day. You get down there and you sit cross-legged for 15 minutes and, boy, you go to stand up and can't hardly do it. It's harder to play with toys now. Even if you got the imagination for it, it's harder to do it. Yeah, I got a shelf in my office. I say my office. It's a bedroom that I've turned into an office for IRS purposes. I got my computer in there and my desk and trophies and whatnot from tournaments, but I bought a shelf for a corner in there, and it's got some G.I. Joes, it's got my He-Man. It's just toys on that shelf. It's embarrassing, really. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. I guess I've already embarrassed myself with the anchor rope shenanigans, so what's some toy stories? I surely shouldn't even be talking about it on video, not from the point of embarrassing myself, but some of y'all out there that watch my videos are my age. And if you start looking up these toys that I'm telling you about, you're liable to go down the rabbit hole too. And once you buy the first one, it's like a drug, man. They got you. You buy the first one, you're thinking, oh, like this barbecue action figure, G.I. Joe, like, oh, it was the first one I ever had as a kid. I'll just get this one. Yeah. Once you get one, you got to have another one. G.I. Joes don't fight individually, they fight as a team. They're a team of G.I. Joes. And then once you get a couple, like, well, who are they going to fight? You got to have some Cobra. And then you get some Cobra guys, and you're like, well, who's going to lead them? You got to have Cobra Commander. So next thing you know, you just got several of them after that. So I apologize in advance if I've started a toy collection for any of you now. But the one thing, the G.I. Joe's, nostalgic. The He-Man, nostalgic. The Wrestlers are nostalgic too, certainly, because I had them as a kid, but the He-Man style figures of the Wrestlers, those were never an option for me as a kid. I mean, certainly the 6-inch G.I. Joes weren't an option either, but you had other 6-inch figures, right? Like you had other figures that were comparable size. Thundercats, I think, they were like 6 inches, I think. 5 or 6 inches, something like that. They seemed like, I remember, I don't have my Thundercats anymore. I'm pretty sure those were given away when I was a kid. And that's a damn shame because Thundercats were awesome when I was 3 or 4 years old. They gave my He-Mans away too. I remember my dad gave my He-Man figures away. Some needy kid. I've never forgiven him for it. But, I mean, we had larger action figures then, but we never had the He-Man style Wrestlers. If we did as a kid, oh man, that would have been so awesome. Oh, Bambi got it again. Bambi bit the bullet again. Well, let's do this, folks. We switched out our head after the anchor rope disaster. I'm going to put on a new chunk, because how long have we been at this now? An hour and a half. Well, it don't seem like it's been that long, but I'm going to switch out our chunk. It's been down there a long time, and so we'll put on a chunk. And you know what I may actually do? Both of those blues ate the big head bait. But yesterday, them fish were covered in mud. Let's take our chunk and cut the gut pocket out. We'll make it a little bit smaller profile. We'll throw the guts down there and just kind of put extra scent in the water. But we'll put a smaller profile chunk down there and just see if that don't attract something. This one here is probably pretty washed out, yeah. If I had more bait, we would be switching out more frequently. Ideally, if you're only fishing 2 rods, I'd like to be switching out baits way more frequently, but when you just got a limited amount of bait, what can you do? You just gotta ride it out, and fortunately, we don't have a bunch of small fish here pecking and chewing up our baits. So even if a bait is kind of bled out or whatnot, when a fish comes up, at least the bait itself is in good condition. It hasn't been chewed on and all that. All right. We'll leave our head on there since we just put it down. Ain't gonna fool with it right now. And speaking of Ric Flair, though, again, I got that wrestling figure, and I'm a big Ric Flair fan as an adult. Anyway, when I was a kid, during his heyday, he was a bad guy, and my great grandmother hated him with a passion. God, she'd cuss that TV when he'd be on there cutting a promo on TBS at 6:05 when I was a kid. But, I mean, you look back on it now as an adult, I think Ric Flair, easily the greatest wrestler of all time. I mean, he had such good matches. Even watching them now, I'll go through YouTube and stuff and watch old wrestling matches a lot. I mean, he was just great. Great on the microphone, great technical wrestling. I mean, he had it all. But even Ric Flair, how many retirement matches has he had now? I mean, 10 or 12 matches where it was supposed to be the end. There was him versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania years ago, and that was a great match. And then he went to TNA and back to WWE, and he's had some other stuff. Well, that last match that he had, I think it's been a year or two ago. It was at some baseball field. And it was a tag team match. It was going to be his final match. Is him and somebody against Jeff Jarrett and somebody. I can't even, it was so bad, I can't even remember who the wrestlers were. I legitimately thought that Ric Flair might die in that ring. Like, he was in such bad shape and just couldn't really, he was a shell of himself. I mean, he was 70-something years old, I think, when he wrestled that match. So, I mean, what do you expect out of him? But still, he's out there 70-some-odd years old, after all the health problems he's had, trying to have a match. And it's one of them things, like, you don't want nothing bad to happen to him, but you gotta watch, right? As bad as the train wreck as it was, you had to watch. And that's kind of like what it was last night, I feel like, with the Mike Tyson thing. Like, it's Mike Tyson. And the last 4 or 5 fights that Mike Tyson had, even going back to the early 2000s, like, they weren't good fights. And that was back when, he was 20 years younger. So I don't know what I should have expected, but I guess, going back to nostalgia, I wanted it to be 1980s Mike Tyson. And when we didn't get that, it was kind of a letdown. I think Mike Tyson last night was more of a letdown than Ric Flair's last match. Because Ric Flair, I mean, he was 70-something years old. You're like, what are you even doing this for, Rick? I mean, come on. And it was more of a novelty thing. And of course, wrestling, you know the outcome's predetermined. So like before you even sit down to watch Ric Flair in the tag match versus Jeff Jarrett for his final farewell match, you know Ric Flair's winning. You don't know how it's going to happen. You know he's winning. Last night, there was a lot of people that really thought and bet money, whether it's online sports books or in Vegas, they bet money on Tyson. And those people got robbed. They legitimately got robbed if this whole thing was staged, which I think it had to be. I think they were both in on it. It was a work. They knew how it was going to go down. They were going to go the distance, have a little sparring match. Jake Paul was going to take it easy on him, not hurt him, make Mike look good, and they were both going to pocket a big check. You feel almost taken. I feel taken, like we got gypped. I didn't pay anything. Hell, it's Netflix. But I lost my time. I lost a few hours of sleep, beauty sleep, which I clearly need because, hell, I'm out here and reeling up fish in an anchor rope and telling you all toy stories. So, I'm all for nostalgia. Buying a He-Man and Skeletor is great. Opening those packages, that makes you feel good. But watching Ric Flair wrestle at 70 or Mike Tyson at 58, like it's just, that's not good nostalgia. It is leading up to it, and then when you see it, you're like, oh man, I'm old. Everybody else gets old, and it's not good. And Mike Tyson at the end there, he's talking about fighting again possibly. I'm like, please don't do it. And I'm sure, man, I wouldn't be surprised if the Nature Boy gets back in the ring at some point too. I do have a good story to tell you all, though. This is what you get, folks, when you're out here fishing with me. Unedited, raw, and uncut. Sure, we talk some fishing. But you also get some behind-the-scenes stories. Not as much as my channel members get. Now, my channel members, y'all have seen them damn cats. I do videos around my house for my channel members. They've seen the new kayak. They've seen the cats. They've been privy to all that in advance. But nevertheless, these regular fishing trip videos, you all get some stories of just real life stuff and what happens. And so my girlfriend told me a story the other day, and I thought I'd share this with you because I think it's just, any bathroom humor to me is funny. Like I guess I'm so immature that toilet humor has always been funny to me. And so a girlfriend tells me this story, and I'd never heard this before. And I just thought it was hysterical. So I asked her, I was like, is it okay if I tell you all this? Because, this is been an ongoing thing at her work. And I got the green light. I got the go-ahead. So, and I don't imagine the person involved is probably the type of person who would be watching my videos. I don't think. But nevertheless, this ain't really, I don't think my girlfriend could get in any kind of trouble for telling me this stuff. There's no names being given. There's no, nevertheless, I'm going to tell you anyway. It's just how it is. I'm going to tell you. I can't tease you with it and not tell you. So my girlfriend has to do the hiring and firing at her job. And one of her employees, I guess you'd say, is been a lousy worker for a while. The other staff there don't really like this person. They're not very good at their job, and they've had a lot of issues. And so this person got wrote up the other day. again, apparently people there don't really like this person, but there really hasn't been grounds to do anything about it. But they apparently had some unexcused absences at work, and so this person had to be written up. Like this fish is about to be written up on that new chunk we just sent down. Let's reel in a fish here before I tell you the story. Fish number 3. I want y'all keep this one out of the anchor rope. Y'all be a good fishing partner here if you'd keep him away from him. We don't want no more anchor rope mishaps today. Let's see if we can get a look at him here. He's gonna be a small one. Gonna be an old, I hope it ain't no channel cat. Oh, he actually ate the fly. No, he didn't eat the fly. He's got the fly in the back. But it is a tiny fish. Tiny, tiny blue cat. He's the type of size fish that we don't want chewing up our baits today, is what he is. Let's get that fly out your back there, kitty. We ain't bringing you in either, if I can help it. There he goes. Quick release on that one. We're not going to fool with him. I don't reward bad behavior if I can help it. Okay, let's send that back down. Well, it's another fish, I guess. I'm here to catch the big ones. I don't know about y'all, though. That one there's a dinkity doodah, but at least he didn't knock the bait off. It's like it never even happened. Kind of like this woman I'm going to tell you about claiming she don't have unexcused absences. But anyway, she's missed some time at work. Unexcused. Well, she's got to get written up for it. And I don't know their policy. I'm sure the girlfriend's probably told me. I didn't listen, but I don't know how many like unexcused absences you got to have before you get wrote up or whatever. But anyway, this girl apparently, whatever that number is, this girl's hit it. And so she's getting written up. And she's in there denying that she's had these absences, even though she ain't been there. And so the girlfriend is apparently, hold on, I'm watching this boat go by here. They're booking and cooking it right here, folks. Look at them go. He's got half his boat out to water, but he's hitting to getting it. There's a fish biting down there somewhere. He's got to go 70 miles an hour to go get them. He's got to get there before they quit biting. So anyway, this girl, she's in there. She's like, "Oh, I had these absences." My girlfriend apparently pulls up. "So you didn't miss on such and such day?" And this girl, she goes, "Oh yeah. Well, I had the hot poos that day." The hot poos, she called it. I guess she had diarrhea, but she had the mud butt, and she called it the hot poos. I've never heard it called that before. And my girlfriend, she's like, I've got to be serious. Like I'm having to write this woman up, and I'm having to be all professional and serious. And she says, "I had the hot poos that day." She says all she can do to keep from busting out laughing. So yeah, I wanted to tell you all about the hot poos. I'm like, can I please tell my audience that? Because I have to know, do other people in the world call it the hot poos? Or is that just this woman? Hot poos. I'm going to call it that from now on, though. I can guarantee you that. That will be officially in my toilet humor repertoire, the hot poos. I've never in my life heard that before, but I love it. In case any of y'all are wondering, that woman, after she's been written up, she decides she's going to quit. So she's working out her notice and not currently doing her job while she's there. So that's been the new drama going on there. All the staff that hated her before because she was apparently an asshole and didn't show up very much, Now they hate her because they're having to do her job because she's just basically refusing to do anything. She's just showing up for 2 more weeks and collecting a check. And before you say, well, she's turned in her notice, why don't you just let her go ahead and go? That was attempted and apparently overruled by somebody above my girlfriend. Some higher up don't like doing that for whatever reason. Something, I guess, about a Tennessee law that they could be on the hook for paying her for the notice if they let her go like that, or some wording in something. And so, but I'm like, well, if she's just causing disruptions there and she's not doing her job anyway, you're going to pay her regardless. You might as well just go ahead and let her go and sign her the check and get her out of there. But what the hell do I know? This is why it's better I don't have a job like that anymore. I just can't deal with people. I couldn't do. And of course, you know, my girlfriend, she's always been the corporate type. That's what she went to school for. She's worked her way up to where she is now. That was what her goal was when she went to college, to get where she is now, and she's climbed that corporate ladder. She went from entry-level position, climbed her way on up, you know. And, you know, she's a better person than me. If I was a corporate ladder type, I'd have been knocking people off above me if I could. I'd been cutting throats and stabbing backs, you know, to get up there. And I think she could have got where she's at a lot quicker had she done that. But she's a better person than I am, so she went about things the right way. But I couldn't do that. Even when I was working as a nurse, you know, I worked ER. I couldn't have ever done like an office job. I couldn't have ever done a floor nurse, like med-surg floor. I couldn't do that. The ER suited me because it was busy. You had constant turnover of patients. If I had to have the same patient for a week, I would be miserable. Dealing with them and their family, having to get to know them. Like, I just want to treat you and street you, you know. I don't want to have to know your whole life story. I want to treat your emergency and either get you admitted to the hospital, get you to surgery, or get you out the door and get you home. You know, my personality type, it just suited me better to be in that type of environment versus, I just couldn't do it. I can't. I'm just too antisocial. Especially now as I'm getting older. Lord, it's gotten way worse. I was coming back from South Carolina when I went over there and picked up that kayak the other day. And I stopped at a gas station. I'm there pumping gas. I'm minding my own business. And a guy in the stall beside me over there, the pump or the lane, you know what I'm talking about. Hell, you pull into a gas station, there's multiple pumps. He's at the one beside me over here. And he comes up and just starts talking. Starts talking about my vehicle, and he starts talking about his, and he's driving a Mercedes. I mean, he's got a nice vehicle, but he's just talking like we're old friends. And I'm nodding my head and smiling, but I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, why did I have to stop at this particular gas station at this point in time right now? What does the universe have against me that has led me and him on this collision course that we have crossed paths tonight? I just wanted to put my gas and be left the hell alone. I don't think that's asking too much. And he was a nice guy, but he just wanted to talk. He needed somebody to talk to. I'm the wrong person for that. I couldn't be a therapist, that's for damn sure. I feel like I actually told my neighbor this last time he come over. He's treating me like his therapist. And he comes over, unexplained, unannounced, all the time. And he doesn't call or text. He just shows up knocking on your door. Now, I've talked about him recently, how I thought I was going to have to just kind of break up with him, like as neighbors, like be like, look, we can't be friends. We can't be neighbors anymore. We just stay on your side of the fence because I don't like the pop in. And it ain't even that he pops in, like if he needed something, that's one thing, but he'll stay an hour and a half. And so again, he got me the other day and I had just gotten home. I went out, got some lunch, and I'd come back. And I was washing my hands at the sink, getting ready to eat, and knock on the door. I was like, oh. I was like, hey, buddy, you need something? No, I was just coming over to chat. I see you got your lunch there. I was like, yeah, I just got home, getting ready to eat. He's like, oh, sit out here on the porch and you can eat your lunch while we chat. I'm like, no, I was wanting to sit here in the house and watch a TV program while I eat my lunch. Oh, what do you need? I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, what do you want? You know, tell me what it is. Like, well, and then he starts going on. And again, it's my fault. I should have sent his ass packing right then, but I didn't because I'm trying to be nice to this guy. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be mean. And he's there an hour and a half, folks, and it's just one government conspiracy. He thinks the world's out to get him. The government's against him. Just, I told him, I'm like, look, I think you're. And this is funny. He says to me, he's like, you know, every time I talk to you, I go on about this stuff. I bet you probably think I'm crazy. And he's laughing, you know, like it's a joke. And I'm like, buddy, I think you're batshit crazy. I don't just think you're crazy. I think you're batshit crazy. I think the fact you come up here to my house unannounced is batshit crazy. Now he's laughing, you know, he thinks I'm joking. And I'm smiling while I'm saying it, but I'm 100% serious. So, anyway, I finally got rid of him an hour and a half later. And of course, my it's cold at that point. But next time he tries coming up, he's got a surprise because I've locked my gate. I had taken, so I got 2 gates in my property. I got my old driveway that was there when they built my house, and then there's another driveway that comes up the back because I bought the lot behind me. And I use the driveway in the back because it comes in from a side road, not the main highway, and so it's easier to get in and out. Well, anyway, I have gates there on either one, and them damn neighbor kids stole my lock on my back gate. I'd had it open one day, it had the lock. I used to just hang it on the fence. Well, them damn neighbor kids stole my lock once upon a time, and so I ended up moving the lock off my front gate down there to it in the back. Because nobody comes, the front driveway is shared between me and what used to be my neighbor girl, which she sold the place. And so nobody ever comes through that gate. Like it's fine, so I don't really need a lock. But by God, I got me a lock and moved it up there to the front gate. So my neighbor, next time he tries to come over, he can't get in. He's gonna have to call. I'm forcing his ass to call or text me before he comes up. And that's what I want him to do anyway, because if he'll call or text me, then I can always have an excuse ready as to why now ain't a good time. But when he just pops in at random, what can you do? So my next fear is when he can't get in the gate, he's going to drive up my other driveway. Now he'll have to go down to the highway, around to the side road, like it's a quarter mile for him to get in the car and drive up, but I think that's what he's going to do. I lived next to him, folks, for 18 years. We never spoke. I saw his kids. They'd come bring Roscoe the dog home back before I had everything fenced. 18 years. And never spoke. And now, in the last 2 or 3 months, I've seen him at least once a week. And he comes and he's there an hour and a half every time. And he's a nice guy. He's a real nice guy, but it's one government conspiracy and how the world's keeping him down after the other. I'm like, I can't be this guy's therapist. I just can't do it. I can't do it. I'm just not that social anyway. And I definitely can't listen to that crap. And it brings out the worst in me. Like, I feed into negativity and pessimism because I'm a pessimistic person. I try not to be. I try to be positive. I try to find the positive in any situation. And some days it's easier than others. If I'm having a good day, it's easier to find the positive than other days where I'm having a bad day. But I can't be around negativity. I can't be around other people like me because I feed into it. And they'll bring out the worst in me. And I'll, in turn, bring out the worst in them. It's just not a healthy, symbiotic relationship. Like, we just can't, you can't have two negative people around each other. The negativity just breeds. And so I try to avoid negativity in my life. I don't keep negative people in my life. I don't try to be friends with negative people. I try to avoid social media as much as possible because it's just nothing but negativity on there. I try to avoid my comment box as much as possible because it's nothing but negativity in there sometimes. And it's like, if I can keep myself away from it, then I have a better chance at kind of keeping a healthy, positive attitude. But when you put me with somebody like my neighbor who's just, again, super nice, but super negative, I'm going to feed into that. And then the fact that I don't want to even have the conversation, and I don't want him there, and I don't want him there when he has showed up there, it just makes it worse. It compounds things. And so I need a nice way to break up with him. He needs a friend is what he needs. He clearly needs a friend. Now, he talks about there's a little shop up the road from us, a little car, I don't know what they do actually. It's car detailing or car repair. I don't know. It's some kind of car shop. It's not a place I'd ever go, so I don't pay much attention to it, but it's right up the road from us. He apparently goes up there all the time and talks to that guy too. And I'm like, I bet when they see him walk through the door, they just cringe because they know he's going to be there for an hour and not buy anything at their store. I'm a terrible person, y'all. I admit it. I own it. I don't hide from it. That's one thing about it. At least you're getting authenticity with me. I'm not going to two-face you. I did piss off a lot of fat people recently. One of my South Carolina videos, I talked about the Jelly Roll concert. I had been to Jelly Roll. He'd come to Knoxville right before I left to go to South Carolina for that trip. And I got stuck sitting next to this guy that was too big for his chair. He couldn't. At the Thompson Bowling Arena where they had the concert up there in Knoxville, the armrests on the chairs don't lift up. They're in a fixed position. And this guy was so wide, he was so big, he couldn't sit down in the chair because he couldn't wedge in between the armrests. And so he was literally kind of squatted down sitting on the armrest. I had no armrest at all for the whole show, and part of him is over into me because he's so big. And I went on a big tirade about him and that and how larger people ought to be buying 2 seats and how they need to work on themselves to not be so large. And I know some people, medical conditions and whatnot, can't help it, but this guy had walked from the parking garage into the arena, which is a long walk. He had walked up multiple steps to get up there because we were in the nosebleeds. So he has some physical ability. So he doesn't have to be that big. That's on him. And yeah, so I'm not going to back down from that. I'm not going to apologize for that. We went on an airplane trip, a vacation a few months ago. We went to Las Vegas, and I got stuck next to a fat woman on the plane. And the Winona Judd concert last year, I got stuck next to a fat woman who was all the way in my chair. And it's like, you know, you shouldn't, if you're a normal weight, an average weight person, even if you're slightly above average weight, that's okay. You can still fit in these chairs. But if you're so large that you're taking up your whole chair and part of the next person's, you ought to have to buy 2 seats. That's just the way it is. I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to back down from that. And I pissed a bunch of people off, apparently, because I was getting a lot of hate in my comment box about it. I blocked several people over. There are people, I don't care if they watch anymore or not, I'm not going to be interacting with them. I don't want to waste time with it. But that kind of negativity, I'll feed into that. If it's in my comment box, if I'm on social media, I'm exposed to it, I'm going to feed into that. I just can't be around it. And I know it's negative. I'm bringing out the negativity in them because I was being negative about the fat people at the concert, which I know is ironic because it was a Jelly Roll concert, somebody who is severely obese. But at least he's working on it. He's down over 100 pounds. Oh, we got another fish here. Another fish here hitting it here. Let's see what's going on with this. Oh, he's got it. He had it. I thought he had it. No, he ain't got it now. He got probably another dink. Let's make sure our bait's not foul hooked or knocked off. No, it still looks good. Well, the wind has picked up all of a sudden here, folks. It's blowing downriver. I didn't think the wind was supposed to be up today, but apparently shows what I know. Yes, anyway, I pissed off a bunch of people. I had a bunch of people unsubscribe. At least they told me they unsubscribed. I add so many new subscribers every day, unless somebody tells me they're unsubscribing, I wouldn't notice they were gone. So I guess they think my comment box is like an airport. You got to announce your departure for some reason. Yeah. I have a way of pissing people off. So it's funny like that, though. Sometimes I'll say something, one of these unedited videos, you'll get me on some conversation topic. I don't know how you even get me on these topics when you don't actually speak to me while we're out here fishing together. But nevertheless, you get me down some rabbit holes sometimes. And I walk right into it, not even realizing what I'm doing. But sometimes I'll say something and it comes out my mouth. And immediately after I say it, I'm like, oh, I just stepped in it. I'm in big trouble now. I'm going to get lit up when this video comes out. And most of the time when I think that, nobody says anything about it. Not one peep. But then there's other times, like I'll say something just completely, I mean, I don't even think it's offensive at all. Well, here's a prime example. Here's a prime example of something that pissed a bunch of people off that I didn't think nothing about. The last tournament video I posted in South Carolina, I got out to where I was going to be fishing the tournament at, and I got out there and there's jugs everywhere. Some jug fishermen have been out there, put jugs out all night. And I made some comments about the jugs being out there and whatnot. And I didn't really go off on, I could have went on a 30-minute rant about what I feel about jug fishermen and the practice of it and all that. It's legal. It's legal to do. It's their rights to do so, but I don't like those people. And I don't mind telling, but I didn't go off on a big, long rant on it. I just made some comments. We got jugs out here, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how I worded it, but it wasn't bad. Like, I didn't rant on those people. Man, I took a lot of hate, though. There was a lot of people pissed just for I guess they're mad at me just because I don't like what they do. And for some reason, maybe they feel like they want me to like. Maybe they're seeking my approval in some way. I don't know. I can't figure out why they were upset, but it was one of them things like, I talked about them jugs. It was just part of my day. I go out there, I go to start fishing, there's jugs everywhere. I couldn't start fishing where I wanted to fish. And, it just is what it is. It's tournament day. It's just, you play the hand you're dealt. But I said it. I didn't think anything about it. But boy, it set people off. And it's things like that that I get lit up for that I just never see coming. I'm like, why would people... Some of the things I say again, I'm like, as soon as it comes up my mouth, like, boy, I've done it now. Silence, crickets, nothing. And something just completely random just sets people off. The last time I talked about bidets, another great Christmas present I got a few years ago, I'd made a comment, what did I call people that still wipe their ass with toilet paper? I was talking about bidets, but I made just a random comment about, what did I call them? I think I said Neanderthals maybe. And it wasn't like I was saying, you're a Neanderthal if you use toilet paper. I'm like, I was talking about bidets and referenced something like these Neanderthals that still use toilet paper instead of a bidet. Like not calling any in specific person a Neanderthal, but just toilet paper users in general. And I got a damn essay from a guy, man. He was pissed, and it wasn't like he was even joking about it. Like he was bashing me in this essay that he wrote over a damn toilet paper. Over wiping your ass, he was that upset about it. Over literally wiping your ass with toilet paper. I mean, it set the guy off. So I just never know, man. I never know. When I post a video, especially one of these unedited videos where we get off in the weeds sometimes, like I never know what's coming for me, man. I never know what's going to be waiting on me when I open that comment box the next time. It's going to be a complete surprise. I need to shut that damn comment box off. Is what I need to do. I've talked about it for years. I just never do it. There's so many people I enjoy interacting with in there. I don't like human interaction face to face, but a lot of the people in the comment box, many of you have been with me so long, I feel like we do kind of know each other. And because it's communication online at my convenience, I guess you will, I'm not like my neighbor knocking on my door and face-to-face conversation for an hour and a half when I'm not ready for it. I do kind of enjoy some of the interaction with some of you. And I hate to give that up over a handful of bad apples, but you leave some bad apples there, it'll spoil the whole bunch. It'll rot them all. That's part of social media. That's part of YouTube. I think the more I've thought about this, the more I think people have always been this way. They just never had an outlet before. In the old days, I'm going to kick back and relax here too while we wait on the next fish. In the old days, there was no social media. People couldn't, if you got pissed off at something, an election, a sporting event, something your neighbor done, there was no outlet for it. You could just be pissed off by yourself. Maybe your close, immediate friends or family might have heard you, but the whole world couldn't be subjected to your thoughts and opinions and negative emotions, negativity. But now, with social media, the whole world is subjected to it if you got a big following. So I think people are people. I think they've always been people. But I don't think I'm alone in that negativity breeds negativity. I think that's the case with everybody. When social media has gotten as negative as it has, I think it turns negative people even more negative, and it turns neutral people slightly negative, and it takes positive people off the platform entirely because they don't want to be exposed to it. And so what you end up with is just a cesspool of negativity. And so I don't know how you fix it. I don't think you can walk it back at this point. Social media is here forever, at least until an asteroid hits us and knocks us into the Stone Age. But I don't think it's particularly healthy. I try to limit my time on there. I have to do some social media, obviously, for this YouTube nonsense, but I rarely post on Instagram. I'm rarely on Instagram anymore. I get on TikTok maybe once a week. Oh, we got something happening here. Okay, he's got it then. He got it then. Got another one. Another on that small chunk. He ain't gonna be very big though. This is a dinkity doodah here. Y'all holler at leaf blower man over on the other side of the river, buddy. He's working hard today. Good day for it, other than being a little chilly out here. Nice sunny day. This fish here, oh, he ate the fly. How about that? This one's got the fly in the mouth. A little bit bigger dink than the last one, but gobbled that fly up. Them flies catch us some extra fish, folks. They get us. I've been using the flies on the suspend rigs for quite some time now. I guess a couple years, probably. I tried them on the dragging rigs earlier this year. You don't hold yourself up there, fish. He's a fat dink. Look at that belly on him, man. If this fish was going to a concert, he wouldn't be able to fit in the other chair. I'd want him to buy 2 seats as fat as he was. But I tried, I'm gonna drop that bait back down as is. I tried the flies on the dragging rigs. And I caught some fish on them. And I didn't get snagged like I had concerns that I would. Like the flies on the dragging rigs worked out. But I've stopped using them. They weren't accomplishing my goal of putting them on. My goal with putting on the flies or trying them on the dragging rigs was to hopefully catch more flatheads. That's what I was kind of hoping for. Bring that bait, a moving bait by that fish, and you've got a fly back there which looks like a smaller bait fish swimming behind what I would hope would be assumed to be like an injured bait fish. If you're dragging cut bait along, something bleeding, putting off blood and oil in the water, I'm hoping the fact it's moving, it's representing something that's injured. And you've got another smaller fish trailing behind that in representation with the fly. I was hoping to catch more flatheads. Well, I didn't catch any flatheads dragging them flies. And so I ended up kind of getting away from, I ran out of rigs, what it was, and I didn't tie anymore. And I've got a bunch of dragging rigs that I'd previously tied up. And so I ended up kind of getting away from it. Although they really didn't hurt any. I mean, I wasn't getting snagged. My biggest fear with ever trying the flies on the dragging rig to begin with, and why I hadn't done it prior to this year, was I thought when you're pulling through wood that you would get more snags with the fly. And that wasn't the case. I didn't. Anytime I got snagged, when I get snagged, it's usually the sinker, and you can pop that free. Sometimes you go through wood, you end up burying a hook in a branch, and you got to pull that off. But that's true whether you got a fly on there or not. Like if you're pulling through wood, you're going to have a hard time dragging. The Santee Cooper is a tackle eater over there with all them cypress stumps everywhere. I mean, you're going to go through some tackle if you're fishing that kind of environment. Yeah, but the suspend rigs though, man, I'm a big believer in them flies because you're certainly going to get some small fish like we just got there. You're going to get, and that fish there, he could have got that chunk of bait in the hook, but much easier for him to eat that fly, certainly, with the size and all. But you're going to get fish like that. You're also going to get some foul hooked fish where they come up and take a swipe at your cut bait and roll and end up in the hook of the fly. So you'll get some of those. We had one of them smaller dinks there foul hooked earlier. But you're going to get some bigger fish doing that too. Earlier this year, I think it was February or March, I don't remember. the exact date. It was late winter, early spring time period. I got what would either now be my biggest fish of the year or my second biggest fish of the year. It was comparable to the one I got back in October when we had the flood conditions here. A comparable size to it, but it ate the fly. In the mouth, ate that damn thing, and I got that fish because I had that fly on. I may not have got it otherwise. And that was either my first or second biggest fish of the year. So far, anyway. We got a little bit of time left this year for me to fish. Although, I don't know how much more, I don't know how many more catfish trips I'll get in this year, because next week I'm going to Florida. I'll be down there about 10 days. And when I get back, it'll be December, and I've got that new kayak I'm working on rigging out. I've got, hopefully get that trailer at some point, get it set up, get the new kayak on it. And so, you know, I've got some stuff I need to do. So I don't know how many catfish trips I'll be getting in the month of December. So I don't know how many catfish trips we got left. This is probably it for catfishing before I go to Florida, unless I get a bunch of skipjack on the way back today. If I could get 3 to 4 skipjack trolling from here to the car when we leave here, another hour or two, then I will probably try to catfish my next trip. If I don't, I'm probably going to try to get a carp trip in before I go, because I know once I get back, by the time I get home from Florida, they will have dropped the water level down significantly farther than what it is now. And the place that I've been getting the carp and buffalo at lately, it's going to be, there won't be any water there. I'll still be able to fish that same creek, but I'm going to have to fish farther out in the creek. And I don't know if that'll pull the fish completely out of there or not. I just don't have experience fishing for carp and buffalo this late in the year. I think in years past, I've cut off the carp fishing. And of course, I ain't been carp fishing a lot anyway. But the last couple years when I've taken it more seriously, I think I've cut it off like September, October in years past. So I don't know what to expect this late into fall, early winter, whatever you want to call this time period. I guess winter officially starts in, December 20th, I guess. So technically, I guess we're still fall. But I don't know what to expect. But I know that water's going to be down 2 or 3 more feet before I get back home. And when that happens, that area I've been setting up it's out of water. So I'd like to get another carp trip in, is what I'm saying. And I'm running out of time. I'm going to have to spend a day getting packed up, laundry, get my saltwater gear together. I need to change out line on my reels, do that kind of stuff, probably the day before I leave. And so get my affairs in order, go to the post office, drop the dog off at my parents', you know, the stuff you do before you go on a long trip. And so with this being Saturday, and I'm hoping to leave out Wednesday, I've basically got tomorrow and Monday to potentially fish, weather permitting. And so if I got some bait on the way back today, I might try to get a catfish session in tomorrow. If I don't, then I'll probably either carp fish tomorrow or Monday. It depends on the weather. I don't know. I haven't looked that far ahead. We'll see. But either way, we got the Florida trip coming up. Looking forward to it. Got some ideas of what I want to do down there, weather permitting, of course. I really want to hit this island off of Bahia, either Bahia Honda or Bahia Honda. I don't know how you say it. I don't know what the proper verbiage is on that, but there's an island off of there, and from what I can see on a map, it's going to be about a 30-minute run offshore to get to it. And if I can set up on that thing, I think we're going to bust some big sharks. I may get spooled. I don't know if my reels are big enough to handle. We'll see. I'm going to try it. All you can do is try. But I definitely want to try that island if I can set up on it. If it's just real jagged rocks or whatnot, I may not be able to get up on it. But if it's got some sand, it looks like it's kind of got some trees on it maybe from Google there. It's tough to see. It's kind of grainy when I zoom in on Google. But I think I've got potential to, because there's a deeper channel that goes right in front of that island. It's a short distance. I can take my baits out on the kayak, drop them, go back to shore. I think it's got potential, man. So I definitely want to hit that. I want to hit the 7 Mile Bridge. You got to go to the 7 Mile Bridge, man. That's a tourist attraction. You can't not catch fish down there. I'm going to fish the place, it's on the Gulf side, but like right behind the place we're staying. I can launch right there. It's got its own little beach and launch area I can put in right there. And I'm going to try to catch some barracuda right there. My buddy Elias V Fishing YouTube channel, as Helicopter Man goes by, he's busted some big barracuda right there, trolling tubes. And he's mailed me out some tubes. They hopefully will be in the mail today, I'm hoping. If not, they should be here Monday at the latest. And I'm going to troll them tubes right there by where we're staying and try to bust some barracuda. And I also hooked a hammerhead shark right there too, 2 years ago when I stayed down there. So there's potential there if I can hook something to maybe get some content. The good thing about where we're staying, there's a dock. And other people staying there can use that dock to like tie off their boats and whatnot. And then they got a fishing area off the end of it. But it's loaded with pinfish. That dock, you can sit there and take a tiny hook and pieces of shrimp or squid and drop down and catch a bunch of pinfish. And pinfish are like, and I'm not a saltwater fishing expert or anything, but pinfish are like the bluegill or the shad of the ocean. Like everything will eat them. Everything loves pinfish. And so when I hooked that hammerhead a couple years ago, I was trolling. I had a live pinfish on the hook with a piece of cut pinfish and nailed that hammerhead, man. And I got him 100 yards away from where we're staying. And it was awesome. So I'm definitely going to hit that. What I'm going to do, when you're at the ocean, and you all have probably noticed this, regardless of whether you're fishing at the ocean or maybe just you've went on a beach trip, vacation with your family or whatever, the wind's always blowing. Like you don't have a calm day as far as the wind goes when you're at the beach because there's nothing to block it. Like out here, if the wind blows 10 miles an hour with the hills and the trees and everything, you can hide from it. Let's say the wind, like right now, the wind's blowing and we're looking downstream because the wind's blowing this direction. Well, if we go around the bend down here to the right, we could hide from this wind. Now, we don't need to hide from it today. It's not blowing hard enough to do anything, but you get my point though. If you needed to hide from the wind, you could if it was blowing too hard. With the ocean, you can't, there's no wind blocks, nothing. But the one exception to that down there in the Keys is if you are fishing the backside of the island from whichever direction it's blowing. So if it's blowing in from the Atlantic side, you can fish the Gulf side right on the edges of the island and you're not as exposed to it until you get out a few hundred yards away from the beach. And so that's probably what I'll do is flip-flop depending on the wind. And whatever day, like what we did last year when me and my girlfriend went down there, whatever day the wind was blowing the hardest, that's when me and her would go have like because her birthday is actually the day that we get to the Keys. Like, she's flying down on her birthday. I'm picking her up on the airport. But we'll go celebrate her birthday on whatever day the wind's blowing hard, because it won't affect us going down to Key West. And she's wanting to go visit they've got like a sea turtle sanctuary / hospital that you can go tour. She's wanting to do that. We'll play putt-putt down there. There's a real nice putt-putt course down there. We'll play. And so, we'll have a day, go eat a nice dinner. But we'll do that on a day where the wind's really cranking, because that's not going to affect what me and her would do, but it will affect what I do fishing, certainly. But the days where the wind's just up a little bit, I can kind of avoid it at least a little bit by fishing the backside of the island of whichever direction it's going. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Maybe get a day where it's blowing from the Atlantic side, and fish there behind where we're staying, try to bust some barracuda with them tubes, try to maybe get lucky with a shark. Last year I didn't do any good on the sharks right there behind where we're staying, but 2 years ago I got that hammerhead, and I got a black tip, and a couple others that ended up breaking me off. So I know there's some, and of course you go out there at night on that dock, and they've got some green lights out there you can turn on by that dock. You'll see on the edge of that green light, you can certainly see down the fish there in the water there where the green light is, but on the edge you'll see these big sharks come in. Man, they'll be in there just cruising in close to that dock there at night. Dolphins too sometimes. We saw the very first night I was ever there, I was down there with Elias. I stayed with him at that area because he's got a timeshare there. Him and his wife have a timeshare. I think they got 3 total weeks that they own, and then he'll rent other people's weeks and go down there too. But the very first night we were there, we walked down the dock, and there was a damn dolphin, like flipper, swimming up under that dock, man. He was hitting and getting it, eating them fish. Like, you just see everything down there in the Keys. Sharks, dolphins, big sea turtles out there. I've seen them out there in the ocean. It's just a cool experience. It might not be as cool if I lived down there and was around it all the time, but the fact that I go, this will be my 3rd time down to the Keys this year. So I have such limited experience down there. It's just a big adventure for me. Taking the Hobie Lynx kayak with me, it's going to be an adventure. I'm going to love it getting on and off the water, but the closer the trip gets, I will admit I'm getting a bit intimidated. Just because it sets so low on the water. If a shark comes at a fish I'm reeling in, things get sketchy real quick. It'll make for an interesting video when I have the hot poo in my pants because a shark gets up on the kayak somehow. You can guarantee to have the hot poo then. But it's going to be a fun time. I'll tell you where we won't be going, though. This place was a total disappointment last time. So last time, we went down to Key West. Played tourist for a day, right? I had never been to Key West before last year. And we went down there, and it's like $40 to park, I think. I mean, it was ridiculous. And we just walked around, played tourist, went down there to the, I forget what they call it now. It's like a big thing set up, and it's supposedly like the southernmost point of the United States. And you can get your picture taken there. Well, we went down there and done that, and we ended up eating at Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville. And it was supposedly the first Margaritaville, the original. And I went in there, and It's packed, of course, because I mean it's right there in the heart of Key West. But I went in there thinking like, okay, well, you think of Jimmy Buffett. What's one of the things you think of first is Cheeseburger in Paradise, right? I mean, it's one of his big songs, and right there on the menu, you can order the Cheeseburger in Paradise. Great. Y'all, it was one of the worst hamburgers I've ever eaten. I mean, like, seriously, it was one of the worst hamburgers I have ever eaten in my life. It was dry. It was small. The fries that came with it were terrible. I can't remember what my girlfriend got, but whatever she got, she didn't like it either. Like, it was an awful meal. And we were like, really, this? I would have thought, like, this would be the flagship operation of and of course, I say that. I don't know that I've ever eaten at another Margaritaville restaurant. I've seen them. I know there's one in Las Vegas that we pass, going up and down the strip out there. I don't know that I've ever eat at one though. Otherwise, I don't guess I maybe should have had the expectations that I had. I just thought I'm kind of a cheeseburger connoisseur, if you will. I enjoy a good cheeseburger, and I thought, man, this is one of his big hit songs. Like, this is going to be an awesome burger, and it just wasn't. It was cool being there. Like, they had some cool stuff, but yeah, kind of a letdown. And there was this was a surprise to me too. I didn't know this. Now, I got to tread lightly here because I don't know how to approach this in the best manner. This is one of them things, if I say the wrong thing, I'm going to get lit up in the comment box. I'm not even going to touch it. But there's a large percentage of people down there are not like me. And I don't know how to properly word it because I don't know what's politically correct these days and what isn't. But that was a big surprise because I didn't know that going down there. I didn't know that. And we're just walking around and like seeing people, you know, everywhere like that. It was a culture shock. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm not trying to be anything bad against those people. It was just different. It's not something you see in East Tennessee. You know what I mean? Like, not that much of it. Anyway, I ain't gonna touch that subject. I'm gonna get in trouble for sure. But yeah, I had no idea. I didn't know anything about Key West prior to us going down there. I mean, I've heard of it, obviously. Everybody's heard of Key West. But I didn't know as far as touristy stuff, like what goes on there. I had no idea. It was just, we were there in the Keys. Let's make a trip down. I can't remember how long it took us to get there because we were staying farther north and we had to drive down. I can't remember. It was over an hour for sure to get down there, hour and a half maybe. But just beautiful scenery along the way. I mean, you're just going island to island to island to get there. It's so beautiful down there. And I guess it's probably, again, it's one of those things where because I don't have access to the beach in my normal daily life, when I go somewhere like that, the first thing I'm going to notice is how beautiful it is. Whereas where I live here in East Tennessee, we've got the mountains. We've got the Great Smoky Mountains, which is a beautiful place. But when you're exposed to it all the time, you don't really notice it all the time, right? But like somebody that's, they're not from around here and they come up here to visit, like, oh, you talk to anybody that comes to East Tennessee, like, oh, it's so beautiful here. The trees, the colors, the mountains, the streams, like, and when we live here and you're around it all the time, you just take it for granted. You're just used to it. So it's not as magical as it is when you go somewhere new and you see something that's, I know, like, you know, I go to Las Vegas. We went out there this past spring. That's the first time I'd been out there in a few years, but you go out there and you're in the desert and it's beautiful. The desert's it's just absolutely beautiful place. And of course, you're flying over to get to Las Vegas. You gotta, you know, you're flying over stuff that you don't normally see. It's just, it's awesome, man. I've talked about this before, I love being other places. I just don't love traveling to get there. I'm kind of a homebody. I don't like long drives. I don't like airports. I don't like getting stuck sitting next to some fat ass on a plane and half their body's draped over me for a 4-hour flight. Especially that woman last year, man. As soon as we got on the plane hadn't even left the ground yet. We're still on the runway, and she's pulling out her snacks. And I'm looking at what she was going to eat, and I'm like, I know this woman ain't making it a 4-hour flight without farting. And she's right up on me. I know people's going to be like, and I've heard this, well, Justin, if you got a problem with it, why don't you just buy a second seat? Well, I shouldn't have to. I can fit in my seat comfortably. I shouldn't be punished because somebody else is irresponsible and are eating themselves to death. You know, that's not on me. By gosh, some people thinks it ought to be. We need a fish, y'all. That's what we need. We got them 2 blues fairly quickly into the trip. Both fun size. That second one was a pretty good fish, but now we've just kind of sat here. The fog is gone now. The sun is beating down on us, and the water, it's lightened up a little bit. When we had all that flood water come through from the hurricane, the water was just chocolate milk brown for a month. But it's starting to lighten back up, so when you get this point in the morning here and the sun's beating down over you, like I would say the light penetration is pretty good today. And I typically don't, when you get that sun right over the top of you on a clear sunny day, I typically don't do as good fishing. But hopefully we're going to have some more fish work up. I probably need to switch out that head bait, but I don't have another head bait to put on. Unless we cut a bluegill. I'd be more confident really in the skipjack. I probably do need to put a fresh chunk on. Let's say it's been, I don't remember how long it's been since we switched out that chunk, but we've had them a couple other fish hit it. If I can get hold of the thing. We've had a couple other fish hit it since then, so we may put an even smaller chunk on this one potentially. Still going to cut the gut pocket out, but maybe make it a smaller sliver and just see. We will have a big bait and a small bait maybe. The head, I guess we'll leave it down there. Lack of a better option. I'd rather have a skipjack head than a bluegill. If we had another option as far as rods goes, I'd had a live bluegill on from the start, but I just can't run 3 rods in this kayak. Just can't properly space everything, and I don't have a way to mount rod holders on the back that's in a very secure way. So I only have this kind of dilemma when I have live baits as an option. If I'm just using cut bait, I don't really worry about it so much as only having 2 rods out. But when I have that live bait option, it'd be nice to run a 3rd rod sometimes. That's probably the ideal setup, really. 2 cut baits and a live bait. If you run that at all times, man, your bases are covered. You have a head, a chunk, and a live bait. Let's send that back down right there. Switch that out. We're gonna see about, let's take a look at this. Let's see about this head here. Let's just reel it up a second, take a look at it, see what we're dealing with. Is it all bled out? Is it got some juice in there? It ain't been messed with. It's pretty blanched out. There is still some blood in there, but it's pretty blanched out. Do we put a second? I think let's put a live bluegill on, folks. Let's go for the blue. Let's try it. We didn't try bluegill at all yesterday. So let's try it today. Let's see what happens with it. We're either gonna catch fish with it or we won't. What'd y'all do with my net? Y'all done hid the net from me. There we go. I'll show y'all this. I got my bait bucket here. I just brought this smaller cooler because it fits here in the kayak and we don't have much bait anyway, and I got my bait bucket here, so let me get y'all back here to the chest and we'll scoop one out. These bluegill are pretty good size. Okay. We have one. This is the chosen one right here. This is it. This is he's the big winner of the day. It's an honor for him to go down there and try to get eaten. I kind of want to, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut a couple slits in him. That way he'll bleed a little bit as he gets down there and kicks around. Help our cause with a little extra scent, maybe. I'm just going to just superficial. Best I can with a dull knife, anyway. My knife is terrible. I gotta get me a new knife for this kayak. All right, down he goes, folks. A live bluegill going down. It'll either work out or it won't. Sometimes a live bait gets it done, sometimes it don't. There's some live baits that work better for me than others. A live yellow bass, those things they're an ideal size. They're hardy, they kick. I really like those. Live crappie works well. If I get a live sucker, that thing's damn near guaranteed to get eaten. But live bluegill, kind of hit or miss. You just never really know. I honestly, if you give me a choice between live bluegill or cut bluegill, I'd rather have live. I feel like I've done better on the live bluegill historically than cut bluegill, but usually when they get eaten, it's not flatheads that eats them, it's the blues that'll do it. So we'll see. We got a live bait and a cut bait now. We got basically a big bait and a small bait because that bluegill's 7 inches or so probably. And we got our sliver of cut bait over there. So we got options for them still. Just got less scent going out now with only one piece of cut bait. And we don't really have, they're moving a little bit of water at the dam downriver from here because they're lowering the water level down, so they're moving water through. But where we're at, with the river being so deep and wide as it is, like you just don't have noticeable flow. You're not going to have any noticeable current. If it wasn't for the wind blowing us this direction downstream, like the current wouldn't move us any such way. So you don't have a lot of scent dispersion down there with your scent. And so you're really dependent upon fish finding you, and that's where it comes into play with setting up how we have today with being precise, like in this old creek channel here. When fish work up in through here, like they're following that path. Our baits are right there where they're going to be moving through. We're not having to rely on the current to get our scent and for the catfish to be able to lock in on that to come get it. Like we just need a bait down there that they want to eat when they come through. And whether or not they want to eat that bluegill, we'll see. We know there's a couple larger blues that will eat the head bait. We know that smaller blues have gotten one snagged and one in the mouth with that smaller bait, the fly. So I got somebody over here on the bank watching me. Maybe he's talking to somebody over there. I thought, were they eavesdropping on me? It's so weird when I'm talking and other people are around listening. I'm always just weirded out by, okay, they're walking back to their house now, good. I wasn't thinking about people being outside over here at the bank today. I was thinking more we might have like bass fishermen come up, work the shoreline over here or something. I wasn't really thinking about just random people walking down and sitting there staring at me. But yeah, I mean, the way we're positioned, it's not the end of the world that we don't have. Okay, right here we go. There's something's on this rod right here. Oh, no, he ain't. He got after it. But yeah, not the end of the world about the scent dispersion, but it helps. It certainly does help to have some current. But it's mainly just getting the bait that they want in front of them. And this time of year, if you got skipjack, man, skipjack on the Tennessee River, you can't go wrong with it anytime, but I'm just way more confident in skipjack than I am bluegill. But bluegill's what we got, unless we want to put on another chunk. And if we had been getting, like yesterday, for instance, we got that big flathead and them other blues on the chunk. So in that situation, when they had showed a clear preference for the chunk, I wouldn't have minded putting on a second chunk if we ran out of heads. I wouldn't have minded at all. I wouldn't even thought twice. But like, okay, we're probably helping our chances here. But today, with our biggest fish being on the heads, I don't know how I feel about it. We'll see. We'll give it a little time. I'm probably going to fish, I don't know, another hour or so and then start trolling my way back. I'm going to, troll the skipjack rigs on the way back, but I do have it's a pretty good run to get from where I launched out to here. I don't know how far exactly, but over a mile for sure, probably somewhere between 1 and 2 miles. So it'll take a little while to get back, but I'm more properly dressed today at least, so I'm not miserable. Yesterday, I was underdressed for the temperature. Today, I got my bibs on. This is my first time wearing bibs in months, since spring, I guess. And in case you're wondering, no, I haven't washed them. They're still nasty now as they were months ago. I probably should wash them. The only problem with washing bibs, it seems like after you've ran them through the washing machine, I never dry them, I always hang them up, but it seems like they lose their, I won't say waterproofness, but like water resistance. Like they lose it. They're not nearly as water resistant after they've been washed, a few times especially. And I've had these bibs now 2 or 3 years, so when I do wash them, it'll probably be the 3rd or 4th time that I've done that. And so who knows? I may not wash them all this winter either. I wish I could just fish somewhere warm enough that I didn't need no damn bibs. But nevertheless, today, I knew it was going to be colder morning temperatures today than yesterday, and I was pretty cold yesterday. Like I was damn near teeth chattering at times because I just didn't have enough clothes on. But today I got more layers and more comfortable, and especially once I start pedaling to work my way back, I'll heat up quick. The worst thing you can do when you're in a pedal kayak is wear too much clothes on in the beginning. Like, you come out this morning and it's cold and you're pedaling and you're burning energy, you're working up a sweat, and your clothes get all damp from the sweat, and then you anchor down and you fish and you got a wind blowing like it is now, and you're just sitting in cold underwear, cold, damp underwear, basically. That's miserable. So it can be a challenge this time of year to dress appropriately because you have cold morning temperatures and significantly warmer temperatures by the time you leave. Even with me just fishing 3 or 4 hour trips usually, still you get out at first light. Like this morning, it was real foggy and cold, and by the time the fog burns off, the sun's, at least, even though it's cold right now, the sun on my face feels warm. So it's hard to dress properly when you're pedaling anyway. If you're in a boat, or if I'm in my motorized kayak, it don't really matter, right? Because I can just dress however I need to stay warm. But when you're actively moving and you're going to be working up a sweat potentially, that's where it really comes back to bite you. And even though I'm not pedaling fast, you're moving. You're doing some exercise there. That guy I sat beside at the Jelly Roll concert, he needs to do a little bit more. He needs him a pedal kayak, I guess, get out here and do some cardio while he catches some catfish. Catches some bait, whatever. Well, I talked about this, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, because yesterday was my first trip back in this kayak in about a month. So my bait runs and stuff, I've been using the Hobie Lynx. I just can't tell you all how much more I like this bicycle style pedaling motion versus the Hobie stepping motion. Like, it's just, to me, it's just so much better. So much more comfortable. I know I'm the minority. I am a tiny minority of people that thinks this. All of my friends much prefer the Hobie pedaling motion. But not me. I much prefer this. And it's nice when you're ultralight fishing and you're working around docks and trees and stuff, beating the banks. It's nice having that instant reverse. Like, if I need to go backwards, I just pedal backwards. Whereas the Hobie, I got to pull that cord. Now, that Hobie Lynx, fortunately, is very maneuverable. You can turn on a dime. This thing here, for me to turn in a circle, I've got to do a wide lap, right? And if the wind's blowing, God help me, because it's going to take me even longer to get turned, because the wind's going to keep pushing me sideways. Whereas that Hobie Lynx, man, you can just sit there and turn on a dime if you pump your feet real fast. So they've both got their advantages and disadvantages. It just comes down to what you prefer, your personal preferences, what's most important to you and how you fish. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. If you're fishing a real grassy area, you're going to hate this propeller drive, bicycle style, because you're going to be constantly wrapped up with weeds. This time of year, it's not so bad now. Most of the leaves have fallen, but you get a bunch of leaves on the water and you get them stuck in your prop. So in that situation, you're going to be better off with the Hobie pedal drive for sure. But it comes down to, how are you going to fish? How are you going to use it? What's most important to you? I kind of do, one of the challenges for me as far as finding a perfect kayak, for me, honestly, the perfect kayak doesn't really exist. It's mostly a series of compromises with me, because I do so many different styles of fishing in so many different places. Now, this kayak, I've referred to it as the jack of all trades kayak because while it doesn't excel at anything, it's not great at anything, it's pretty good at everything. I can run it, I can paddle it in a small creek, I can pedal it out here on the Tennessee River, I can take it down to the ocean and catch hammerhead sharks in it and bust through the surf getting offshore. Like, you can do everything in this kayak, but you don't do anything well. It's not super fast, it's not the most stable, you don't have the most storage space, it's a series of compromises. Now, that Bonafide kayak I've got and my Hobie Pro Angler, much more stable, carry a lot more crap, stick motors on there, carry that and the battery weight and big coolers and all that. So if I only fished for catfish and I was making long runs on big water and stuff, well, then maybe that would be the only kayak I need, either one of those. But I don't. And that Hobie Lynx, like if I only went ultralight fishing, that Hobie Lynx would be perfect. If I only fished in the ocean, I don't know for sure yet, but I think it would be perfect. There's a lot of people using that kayak now down at the ocean because you can't sink it. You can bust through the surf, water comes over, but it don't go in. There's nowhere for it to go in, so you don't have to worry about sinking it, the hole filling up, anything like that. And it's so lightweight, you can pull it through the sandy. So like it's a good, or a bluegill. Our bluegill's getting antsy. Oh, something's got him, buddy. Something's got him. He can't pull that hard. He can't pull that hard. He can't take that rod over like that. Our live bluegill got to eat, man. We cut 2 little slits in him with that dull knife, and something just gobbled him up. He ain't gonna be very big though. It's gonna be a dink, but we got him eat. Oh, Lord help us, it's a channel cat. Oh my gosh, we didn't want to see that, folks. Boy, I'd rather lose the fish than the anchor. I wish this fish had come off so I didn't know it was a channel cat. I'd rather catch my anchor rope than catch one of these. Dadgummit. I saw that rod going down, man. I thought, man, something. When he first got antsy, I'm like, something's after him. And there something was after him, all right. The beast from the east right here, the channel cat Bam Bam Bigelow. I'm gonna do a flying headbutt on me if I ever get hold of him. This hook, look where this hook's at. I'm gonna have to bring him in. The hook's going right through the bottom lip. I gotta be careful with this thing. Make sure you don't end up putting it in me. Okay. All right, channel cat. Tell your friends, don't bite. I'd rather sit here and get skunked the rest of the time than catch another one of them. Okay. Well, let's get our net. Let's put another bluegill on. We've got more. I've got plenty. These poor bluegill, they had heard me talk earlier how I was going to let them go. Wouldn't use them today, and I'm going to let whatever we have left in here go. I'm not carrying these things around another day. But the last one and this one right here, they're not going home, folks. Save that energy, bluegill. You're going to need it. You may be running from a channel cat in a minute. We'll go ahead and just cut this one too, just a little bit. Just enough to get him, just a little oil, a little blood. Wounded a little bit there. Not enough to cripple him, keep him from swimming, but just get him bleeding a little bit. Injured, make him injured when they come up on him there. Okay. But yeah, man, as far as that Hobie Lynx goes, like if I just ultralight fished, that would be an ideal platform for it because it's just so, it's so light, you can put it in anywhere. And, you know, for me, I kind of want the best kayak for every scenario is kind of what I want. I could take this kayak here I'm in, this Old Town Big Water, being a jack of all trades kayak, you know, I consider it. I could make this work anywhere. And I enjoy, this is of all my kayaks I've ever had, this is my favorite. Like everything about this kayak as far as catching big fish in it is fun. But, you know, is it the best kayak for all situations? No, and I'd kind of like to have, if that Hobie Lynx turns out to be better in the ocean, then that's what I want. And I know it'll be better as far as getting it to and from the water, because this thing, I mean, this is a light, I mean, you take the pedal drive out, the pedal drive's 20-something pounds. But you take it out, the bare hull kayak weight, I think it's 98, 99 pounds. So it's manageable. You can drag this thing around, but if you got to pull through sand a long ways specifically, it ain't that much fun. I'll tell you that, it ain't that much fun. So if the Lynx works out saltwater wise, it's worth it to have it for me just for that alone. Because I mean, I want to go, I mean, we're going down, we've kind of, the last 3 years I've went down there to the Keys, and I went down there, I think 2 years before the last, I guess about the last 5 years now, I've went down to Florida in the winter. I'd fished the mainland Florida prior to that, going to the Keys. And so I'd like to have something to just keep, just to take down there and stuff. And I may actually go back potentially in January. Don't hold me to this, folks. This is potentially in the works here, but Brandon Hunter, Fins and Talons YouTube channel, he's the one doing the falconry stuff there I've been a big fan of. I'm friends with the guy, he lives up in Ohio, but his folks have a property down there in, oh, I'm drawing a blank on the town. But it's in Florida and it's on a river. I can't even think of the name of the river. Crystal River, maybe? Oh, we got something over here on this rod. Maybe this will jog my memory to remember what that damn river's called. Something hit it. I can't remember the name of the town or the name of the river, but it's supposedly got some tarpon in it down there. Has this fish got it? He's tugging on it a little bit. That's a small sliver of a bait. It may be another channel cat. If he can't eat that bait and the hook, it's probably a channel cat. Holler over there and ask Leaf Blower Man if that's a channel cat or not. He's out in full force over there working right now. Hopefully the Fancy Pants microphone's actually working today and drowning him out. I had a surprise when I got home from the Ultralight trip, which would have been not yesterday's trip, but the trip before. This Fancy Pants microphone didn't work. Like, it was on. It was saying it was connected on my camera screen. But when I uploaded the video, I have to trim off, like right, these unedited videos, I cut off, like the part where I turn the camera on before I start talking, I trim that off. And then at the end, when I tell you all bye, there's a second or two there before I hit the end button, I trim that off. And I noticed right away when I was trimming there, the beginning, I'm like, my audio ain't right. And I clicked on it for a little bit there, and I'm like, hell, that's the damn camera microphone, not my Fancy Pants microphone. And so I plugged my microphone into the computer because it's supposed to record the audio. It's supposed to relay it on the camera too, but it's supposed to record it separately too, in case you have a problem like that. Now, I'll be damned, I didn't have any files on there from it. Not one damn file. So I don't know what went wrong. It worked fine yesterday. I didn't have any issues. I checked it. I had both the Fancy Pants microphone on the video footage itself and the video file or the audio file saved on the microphone. I plugged it in the computer last night and checked too. I don't know what went wrong on that ultralight trip. It just something, we had a technical glitch, I guess. I don't know. But it's always something with technology, man. It's always something. But yeah, I can't remember the name of that town or the river down there in Florida if my life depended on it right now. But nevertheless, there's supposedly some tarpon in there. Brandon's going down there, and he's invited me. It's sometime in January. And so I can stay there at his folks' house. So basically a free place to stay. I don't like staying with people, though. I may end up getting a hotel anyway. But I may go down there and fish with him and try out that river. I don't know. I mean, there's supposedly tarpon in that river. I don't know if it's a seasonal thing. I don't know if they'll be there in the winter or not. They're down there in the Keys in the winter for sure, but I don't know how far up north they go, because this is on like the mainland of Florida. It's way up. But I don't know, but I may go down there and fish, and if we're getting fish, great. If not, what I may do is just fish there a couple days, and if we're not catching anything, I may go south. And just, because I mean, it ain't that much further a drive if you've already driven to Florida. The worst of the drive is out of the way at that point. So I may just go on down south again in January there. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how these videos do for me. Sometimes in years past when I've done things that are off-brand, I mean, I'm kind of known for catfishing on YouTube, and I've slowly got my way up in the ultralight world and in the carp world. Those videos are performing better now than they used to. But when you do something really off-brand, like a saltwater trip or something like that, the normal audience isn't interested as much, and so the videos don't often do well. But last year, one of my Lake Ida trips was one of my best performing videos of the year. So we'll see how these videos do from the Florida trip, and if they do well, then I could probably justify going back again in January. If they all just completely bomb, then I may have to think twice about it. We'll see. But that is a potential option for January. I'm pretty sure Brandon's going down there for sure. I'm behind on his videos too. I've been lately with it being football season. I spend a lot of my time watching football. And NFL, I mean, you got the Thursday night game, Sunday, Monday. Of course, Tennessee's been pretty good this year, not offensively, but we've been good defensively as far as college goes, and I'm a big UT fan, so we'll watch that on Saturday. And so my whole week is pretty much football, and I don't have a lot of extra time for YouTube videos. And when I do watch YouTube, I got to listen to Jim Cornette and get caught up. And of course, last night I was in the mood for watching Mike Tyson fight, so while I was waiting on that, I'm watching old wrestling matches there, watching Undertaker and Hulk Hogan. And so this time of year, much like a lot of the regular audience, I'm just not watching a lot of YouTube videos. I'm watching football and other stuff. And so I'm behind on Brandon's videos. I think he's got 3 or 4 videos now that I haven't watched. So I may just have to take a day and binge watch. The last time I had watched was the video where he lost his bird. He had trapped that red-tailed hawk, and he had trained it, and he was doing some, he had been working with it, and he had it coming to him. He had built a trust with it there, and things were going well. And he took it out for a hunt, and it flew off. He lost it. He lost his gear too, his tracking and all that. It got away from him. He couldn't Couldn't get it tracked down, so. He's got him another bird now, I'm pretty sure. Or he's been trapping other ones. Again, I ain't watched. So I don't know exactly what's going on. But it's fascinating stuff, that falconry. I could totally get into that if I'm not careful. But I won't put the time into it that needs to be put into it. And you got to be an apprentice. To become a falconer, you have to do a long apprenticeship. It's not something like you can take a class and be ready to do it in a month. Like, no, you gotta study a long time and have an apprentice teach you their ways for a long time before you can become eligible to do it on your own and trap a bird and train and all that. And so I just don't think I would put in. I find it fascinating, and I think it would be really cool to have a bird, have a hawk like that. It'd be cool. But I don't think that I would give it the full dedication that it needs to do it right. And so if I'm not going to be 100% all in on it, I shouldn't do it at all. That's kind of my thought process on it. But I'll totally watch Brandon's videos and be fascinated by it, and I think they're cool as hell. I've got hawks. I see them, I hear them around my property. Now, I saw one day. I was leaving, and he swooped down. He had something in his claws, and he swooped down in front of my yard there. And it was so heavy what he had, he could barely get up and clear my fence. And he just glided over the road into the woods over there at my neighbor's. And I don't know what he had. I couldn't really get a good look at it. It was a larger animal. It may have been one of my neighbor girl's cats or a rabbit or something. I don't know. But I mean, it was a larger animal that it had gotten. I don't know what's happened. Speaking of cats, for the update, for those of y'all following along the cat saga. So I've got them 2 cats in my house now. The little black one that I was attached to from the beginning. I told Mark, I sent him a picture of that cat laying with Daphne. I'm like, it's adapted to my house now. You can't have it. I had to find him another cat because he was going to take it. And I got that one, and I got the orange one. And the orange one, it was skin and bones. Man, it's missing part of an ear. Its eyes were messed up. It was limping. Like, it was in bad shape. And a couple weeks in my house now, 2 or 3 weeks, however long it's been, he's fattened back up. His limp's gone. Of course, I've took him to the vet, got his shots. We've got him neutered. The other ones had already been neutered. So like and he loves it, man. That cat, the orange cat, the black one, the one we're calling Midnight, you open the door, he's ready to go out. Like, he'll spend most of the day outside, and then he'll come in at night. Now, he don't venture far off my house. Like, he'll stay on the porch most of the day. He'll sleep part of the day in one chair and part of the day in the next, and he'll go out in the kayak and get in one of my seats and sleep there for part of the day. But he don't venture off the property. Like, he stays around close to the house, and then he's ready to come in at night. The orange one, though, and he had the rougher life of the 2 for sure, because, I mean, again, he was skin and bones. His ear was partially ripped off. Like, he's had a rough life. He don't even try to go out. Like, he is fully adapted to the house. He's a house cat now, and he's living it up. He's living his best life. He gets wild at night. We've got him some cat toys, and so he'll chase his mouse and smack it around up under the couch and the table and stuff, and do his funny meow and whatnot. And he's fully adapted to the house cat style. But the other cats that my neighbor girl had, one of them was real sick, had some respiratory things, skin and bones, and the other one kind of looked like Midnight but was a little bigger. And I was feeding them. But when I left to go to South Carolina, my mom would stop over there and feed them and feed the other cats, but she never saw them 2. And when I got back, I've not seen them since. So I think the people that are cleaning up my neighbor girl's house, they'd bought it and been fixing it up, doing some renovations, I think they probably got rid of them. because them cats weren't going to leave if they're down there getting fed. So I bet they probably set a trap and got them. They were skittish. The sickly one, I had gotten to where I could pet it. The other black one, I was getting there. I was working on it. I'd gotten to where I'd touched him once. I'd kind of grazed him a little bit. But a stranger coming up to him wasn't going to get hold of him. Like I had built a rapport with them a little bit because I'd been feeding them. A random person down there working on that house, beating and banging on stuff, like they're not getting hold of it because they would have had to set a trap. And them they're not just going to run off when they're down there getting fed. So I think they done something with them. We called the shelter. Nobody had dropped off any cats, so I'm assuming they either took them off, trapped them and took them off somewhere, or they killed them. One of the two. I haven't talked to these people renovating the house. You know me, I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm not sure they speak English anyway, so I'm not sure how well the people that's been there anyway, I'm not sure how well the communication would go with me not speaking anything but English, and them, I've heard some of their conversations while I've been outside, and it's incomprehensible to me. So yeah, but I hate that something has happened to them cats. My neighbor girl was supposed to take them all to the pound, and they would have probably put that one down. They would have probably put the orange one down too, truth be told, because he was in such rough shape. But he's bounced back quick. And he's such a good cat. He's so friendly. So yeah, I went from having no cats, now I got 2. Girlfriend's tolerating it well. We got the air purifier, we got the litter robot, the house don't smell. The litter robot, man, it's awesome. It's expensive as hell, but it's so nice. It's so nice. Let me pull that thing up. Now, I ain't trying to sell you no litter robot here, folks, but I'm gonna tell you, Lord, my phone's been blown up the whole day we've been out here. Thank God I had this thing out on Vibe. Lordy days. Okay, let me get to this litter robot app. Okay, so right now, it says clean cycle in progress. That means one of them has peed or pooped in there recently. But anyway, you pull this up, and it'll tell you 65% full. It automatically dispenses the litter down there, so I don't have to fool with that. It's got a little hopper on the back. I'll just put litter in there once in a while. But it's taken these 2 cats, well really, it's like 1.5 cats, I guess, because Marty's inside the whole time and Midnight's outside most of the day. So let's call it 1.5 cats. It takes about 4 days to fill the bin up. And you just slide that bin out right there, and it's got a plastic bag, and you just tie up the bag, and you don't have to do no scooping. It's great. But it'll tell you, and I've got Marty, I was going to put them in there because apparently it weighs the cats once a week, but they're pretty close in weight now, and it says it don't work if you have 2 cats that weigh roughly the same amount. So I never put Midnight in, but and it hasn't weighed either. I don't know. I don't even know how to operate that, honestly. But not that it matters, but supposedly it will weigh them. But you can see, cat went in at 5:44. It started cleaning at 5:52 and was done 5:54. Then 7:23, and you can see when they're peeing and pooping all. And I don't know why you'd want to monitor that, but by gosh, it tells you. But most important thing is it tells you when it's done and when you need to go clean it out. And otherwise, it just kind of runs on its own. They go in, they do their thing, and then a few minutes after they get out, this thing spins. And all the litter, the clean litter, falls down in this, it's like a screen, and it goes down, and the pee and the poop that's clumped up, it falls down in this hole as it spins down into that bin, the waste bin. And then as it continues to make its loop around, the litter then falls back out of the screen into the box again. And so it's fascinating technology. I mean, who the hell ever thought, like, whoever done that? whoever come up with it's brilliant. They clearly have a lot of talent to create something like that. But I'd like to meet the person. I'd just like to have a 10-minute conversation with the person who created Litter Robot to just ask, like, you're clearly brilliant. You have an amazing talent to engineer whatever the hell it is you want in life. Why cat shit? Like, what is it about cat poop that you were so passionate about that you're like, you know what? I'm going to build a mechanical litter box. Like, what kind of person is that passionate about cat poop? I mean, I just like to ask them. If I ever, and I don't like human interaction, but I would spend 10 minutes talking to that person just to ask them, like, what was it about cat poop that inspired you to go make this ridiculously priced litter box? I don't like how much it costs, but I do like having it. If it works for a long period of time, it will be great. If this thing breaks or for some reason stops working like it's supposed to, then I'm going to be very disappointed in what I've paid. Kind of like that Roomba. We had one of those, the vacuum cleaner, that robot, and it works around your house and does its thing. It was great for like a year. I'm like, man, my floors are so clean. I don't have to vacuum. This was great. And then it just blah. It wouldn't dock itself properly, and it wasn't cleaning good anymore. And it wasn't good anymore. And you're like, man, I spent all that money. Well, I didn't spend, the girlfriend bought it. But still, you spent all that money on this device, and it was only good for a short period of time. I hope that's not how it's going to be with Litter Robot. I'm really, really concerned about it. It's got a 3-year warranty. But what do you do? I mean, I guess if it tears up, I've still got the other litter box. I don't have any litter in it. Like, they're forced to use the Litter Robot. But the other litter box, I've dumped it out, and it's out on the back porch right now. I guess you keep that. Because if you ever had a malfunction with it, you'd have to, while it's sent off for repairs, you'd have to have a backup. It's kind of like having 2 bathrooms in your house. If one crapper's tore up, you can go to the other. There was once upon a time I was thinking about building me an outdoor toilet, like an outhouse. Because I enjoy peeing outside. I thought maybe I'll like crapping outside too. But then I got that other neighbor on the other side, and I had to put up a fence, and now I'm getting a new neighbor in front of me, and they're going to be building a house in front of the neighbor I don't like, and I got my neighbor in the corner showing up at random times at my house, and it'd be pretty embarrassing if you was out there taking a crap and your neighbor just walked up and you're sitting down there pants down on a bucket or something. I don't know. But once upon a time, I had thought about building an outdoor toilet. Just because. I don't know if it was one of my better ideas, but I get some stupid ideas occasionally. I had a really dumb idea the other night. I don't think I told you all this. So, we got these geese coming right at us, man. Y'all better divert. Knock over my bait rods behind me here as flying so close. Oh, here's some more. Hell, they just keep coming. I don't know when duck season or goose season starts, but I hope it's soon. I can't stand them things. They migrate through, and boy, they're loud and obnoxious. But the other night, I had to go to the store, and the black cat, Midnight, was outside. And this cat gets in everything. If I got my car door open, switching out my fishing gear and stuff, it's going to climb up in there. Like I found it it's a wonder I didn't lock it up in there, but it was sound asleep in my car seat where I'd had the back hatch open and I'd been doing some fishing stuff. And so anyway, I'm going out, and I was going to take Daphne with me. Daphne still don't get to ride in my truck because it's still got the new vehicle smell, and so she don't get to ride in it. But if I'm taking the car somewhere, I keep the back seats down, so she hops up there and rides. Well, me and Daphne, we're going out to leave, and the cat's outside, and I'm going to let Daphne in the car, and here comes the cat. It wants to get up there too, because it's got to be in everything, you know. I thought, all right, you little devil, go ahead, hop on up in that car. So he hops on up in, and I just close the door behind him, and I get in, and we take off. And so I'm going to the store with this cat and Daphne in the car with me. Both of them going car ride. And Daphne, she certainly enjoys a car ride, but I don't think the cat did, because it was going back and forth from the back seat to the front seat, trying to climb up. It was up on the dash, like it was trembling, like it was freaking out. And I get to the store, and I go to get out, and I see him like trying to bolt out the door. I thought, boy, this is bad news. Like if he gets out here, I'm in big trouble. I'll never get hold of him again. So I was able to keep him in. And then when I got back in the car, when I was done at the store there, I acted like I was going to open the back hatch to get the cat in the back seat. And then I had to run around and get in the front real quick and close the door before he could get out. So I was like, you know, me taking this damn cat on a car ride wasn't the smartest idea I ever had. But I'm hoping the cat was maybe so traumatized from the experience that maybe when I open the car door in the future, he won't just get up in there. I mean, it's not a big deal right now, but imagine if that happened in the summer and I closed him up in there. I mean, he'd suffocate. It'd be so hot, you know? So I don't want him getting in the car like that. But I mean, if I got my car door open and I'm taking out rods, walking them to my shed, or taking my bait bucket out, cooler, whatever, in the car, and it's open, here comes the cat, man. He's up in there. He wants to know what's going on. And I guess he finds my car seats more comfortable than I do, because he was sound asleep that one day in there. That'd be terrible if he got in there and died, though. I'd feel awful. But yeah, I don't know if he'll be getting up in there anymore since he got to take a trip to the grocery store. He was freaking out the whole time. Some cats will ride, though. I remember seeing a video of some guy, I think he's a truck driver. He took his cat everywhere. Some people can walk their cats on a leash. There's a girl on Instagram I follow, Disc Golf Barbie. She has a cat that she walks on a leash. So sometimes cats can do that. This black cat, the one we're calling Midnight, it honestly kind of acts like a dog. And I've wondered if it don't think it's a dog. Because it'll get out there with Daphne, and it ain't afraid of Daphne at all. Like, if Daphne's afraid of it, but like it'll go up, it'll root Daphne out of her doggy bed there in the living room, and it's fearless, man. The orange cat, it's okay with Daphne too, but it tolerates Daphne. It doesn't like Daphne. We've got a big boat coming behind us here. I'm honestly surprised out here today. We've been fortunate with how little boat traffic we've seen, with it being a Saturday that I'm filming this. I thought for sure there'd be a bass tournament going on at one of these nearby ramps, and we'd have bass boats zooming up and down all day. But so far, we've been really fortunate. We've not had hardly any boats go by at all. We've not been so much fortunate as far as the fish catches. I was hoping maybe 3 or 4 fish today is kind of what I was hoping for, but the way it started out there, we got 2 fish pretty quickly. I thought there was a chance that we might really have a 8 or 10 fish day. Maybe get another big fish or 2, maybe get a flathead, but it just hasn't worked out thus far. And the later it gets here in the morning, that sun keeps getting higher in the sky, and we're not in shallow water, but we're shallower with the clarity and all. It's going to be bright down there. I just getting less and less confident as the morning goes on. I'll probably wrap it up here soon. This battery will die shortly. It normally makes it around 4 hours or so. We're coming up on 4 hours now. So whenever the camera battery craps out, I'll probably go ahead and call it quits here, and then just start making my way back toward the car, trolling my skipjack rigs on the way, and see what happens. If we get some bait, I'm letting the bluegill go today, but I'm going to let them go when I get back to the ramp. So, well, if I get like 2 or 3 skipjack, maybe I will keep those bluegill. Maybe I'll deal with it another day, carrying that bucket around, and we'll go catfishing on the next session. If I don't get any skipjack, or maybe just get like 1, I'm gonna dump them bluegill. Next session's gonna be a carp trip, and we'll take, if I get a skipjack, say I get 1, not enough to do a full catfish session with, then we'll throw it out there real shallow when I'm trying to catch carp and buffalo, see if we can bust a cat. I threw out on the last carp session, I threw out a piece of cut perch to begin with, and then I caught a little bluegill on one of my carp rigs, and so I switched it out and threw a live bait out. I didn't do any good on it. But prior to that, I had caught some fish there in the shallows and the creeks. But I was talking there a little bit yesterday about fish movements and stuff, and you're always going to have fish on deep structure, 7 days a week, 365. There'll always be some fish deep, but you're not always going to have fish shallow. And so when you're in the shallows, you're really dependent upon fish being super active and being up there, other than just small fish. And there will be some small fish up in the shallows all the time. You'll get some channel cats, you'll get some smaller blues. They'll be there regularly, right? But your larger, your trophy specimen fish, they're going to spend the bulk of their life out on deep structure because they're inactive most of their life. And that deeper water, as long as it's got oxygen, it's more stable for them. The exception to that being if you're in a lake, it's got a thermocline, there's not oxygen down there deep, they're going to be suspended up. They're going to be above that thermocline a lot. And those fish will certainly be more subjected to any atmospheric changes with fronts moving through and whatnot, weather systems and stuff. But you get out here on these reservoirs like this on Tennessee River, there's enough water movement that you don't really have a thermocline here, except really hot summers where they're just not moving any water through the dams. You might get a thermocline on the lower end of the reservoir. But for the most part, we don't have that. And so those fish can go deep and have stable water conditions, a stable living environment all the time. And so you're really dependent upon them being super active to move up very shallow. Then it happens more in the spring and the fall, certainly. In the spring when they're feeding up, getting ready to spawn, looking for nesting sites, things like that. And then the fall, they're feeding up for winter. You get more of those movements and for longer periods of time, those time periods. But I prefer fishing deep because I know you're always going to have fish there. And even a place like this, let's say fish turned on and got active today, but they weren't super active. Well, the tip of this point here that we're on, it may be as far as they move up today. They may not go up more shallow than that. It just depends on the day and the activity level. Because it ain't like these fish can't get bait or can't get something to eat everywhere out here. I mean, there's something for them to eat everywhere. All of these creeks are loaded with shad. You get a deep point like this, I'm sure if we looked around on the graph, we'd probably spot some bait fish down there. So they can eat at any depth, just about. So it's just a matter of how active are they going to go? What is it that they're keyed in on? You know, is it a certain type of bait fish that they're looking for, that they want? Are they going to pass up other baits to go get that? Because I would imagine that fish are pretty, they may not realize they're doing it, but there's probably certain types of foods or certain types of bait fish that they're going to eat at certain times of the year that's going to give them either more nutritional value or more of something that they're not getting in their diet otherwise, and they're going to just probably instinctively know that they need to eat those things. They're probably not thinking, well, gee, we're not getting enough magnesium in this type of fish, so let's go eat this other kind. They don't know that. But just instinctively, they probably know we need to eat this time of year, and if this pops up this time of year, we need to eat this. That would be my guess anyway. So whatever it is that they're trying to eat, whatever it is they're keying in on, they're probably willing to move farther to get that. But you just got to figure out what that is. The thing about fishing the Tennessee River is, though, you can't ever go wrong with skipjack. That kind of takes some of the thinking out for you. If you got skipjack, you always got a chance. 7 days a week, 365. Now, certain times a year, some baits may outperform skipjack, but you can still catch fish on skipjack. So that's just one of those things that you just don't, it's one of those variables you don't have to really think about. It takes one thing off the plate. I think skipjack are probably like a treat to them. Skipjack are so fast. I really doubt blue cats are eating them regularly. Flatheads can probably ambush them and get some. I would assume these bass boats are running up and down river. When you get these skipjack up near the surface, I would assume these bass boats are moving so quick that they probably cut up a bunch of fish in the prop. Whether when they're going through a school of shad or skipjack, some of them fish probably get wounded and get cut up. And the blue cats will get them certainly. And you're going to have some skipjack die of natural causes. And blue cats are going to scavenge them. But I would say for the most part, skipjack are probably a treat. They're not getting them every day. So when they find them, and skipjack, if you don't have skipjack where you're at or where you fish, and you've probably seen it with me cutting these up, they're a very bloody fish. Like you cut into a skipjack, it's a lot of blood, it's a lot of oil. Like they're a very juicy fish. You compare that to, say, a bluegill. You cut a bluegill up, you hardly see any blood. There's hardly any oil. So, I mean, it's a big difference as far as, I don't know, nutritional value between the two. Maybe better or worse, one or the other, but as far as just putting off scent, skipjack's puts off way more scent than a bluegill. But catfish, they're just basically one big tongue. That's what they are. So they're pretty good at figuring out scents and where stuff's at. Like it don't take a lot of scent to get them to be able to lock in on you. They're basically just one big, I mean, what you call it, a nose, a tongue. Probably tongue would probably be more realistic because they're not smelling anything, they're tasting it. But their whole body's like that. I'm wondering too, like sometimes when I've got my live scope on the other kayak, which I still gotta tinker with that, see if I can figure out what's wrong with it. But you'll see fish kind of come up and it's almost like they're circling around your bait. And I'm wondering if they're just not like circling around it, kind of tasting it all the way around without ever actually touching it. Just the blood and the oils kind of coming off of that when they're circling around. Are they tasting it? Are they giving it a taste test without actually putting it in their mouth? I've wondered that. I don't know if it's true or not. It's just something that I've considered. Because it don't make sense why when you're fishing super deep and you've got your cut bait down there, there's not a lot of light penetration. You see them fish come up and they just circle around. They're swimming around it. Like, what is it they're doing? Are they're not, surely they're not able to really see it, to look at it, to give it a good look. So they've got to be kind of tasting it in a sense. It's the only thing I can think of, but I mean, I could be way off course. I'm certainly not a fisheries biologist, and I don't even pretend to play one on TV. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. It's just talking at my butt here, just making stuff up. But it seems plausible in my mind that could be the case, what they're doing. Another boat went by and we're just sitting here rocking. This is what you can't do when you're suspending baits. Sit here and rock and these baits go up and down like that. Like if you're on a real busy pleasure boat day, or if you got a real windy day and you got a lot of chop, don't try suspending, folks. Don't do it, because you're just not going to get bit. It's not going to affect us today out here because we've had very limited boats go by. But I don't fish this body of water in the summer for that reason, because you have so many wakeboarders and houseboats going, oh, big takedown, big takedown, big takedown. Just out of nowhere, man. Thank goodness that fish come along when the kayak had stopped rocking. If it was still going up and down like it was with that wake, we'd have never got this fish. Glad to have another bite, though. Beginning to wonder if it was going to happen for us. Some big bubbles coming up right there. Big bubbles coming up. It's a nice fish. Another fun sizer. I thought it was going to be bigger than that when I saw the bubbles. He didn't feel particularly big, but he nailed it when he first took it down, man. It was a nice takedown. Real nice takedown, man. See what he ate here. I ain't got to look at his mouth yet to see if he ate the piece of cut bait or if he ate the fly potentially. Let's see. Well, I still can't get a good look at it. He's going to try to get us soaking wet, I guess. I can't tell what he's got in his mouth yet. Okay, he's got the cut bait. He's got the cut bait in his mouth. He's wound up now, and he didn't fight that hard. So now I'm going to let him get his energy. We ain't having a repeat of the first one. Saves his energy till he gets in here and then acts a fool. But yeah, folks, man, like I said, you put in time to places like we're at today, as the airplane man flies over, you get bit. Now, it may not happen in the window of time that you're on the water, especially if you're fishing a shorter length trip like I'm doing today, but fish will work through. And when you find places like on the map here I showed you, and you can find a million of these places up and down these reservoirs. Some will have more fish than others. Some seasonally, there'll be fish there at times and not others. But if you just log hours on them, man, put in time, it ain't if you get bit, it's when. Now, we've been fortunate today to get a few fish, nothing huge, but this is the third quality fish that we've gotten. And considering that I mean, our bait situation has been so piss poor today with only having 2 skipjack and, you know, not being able to switch out baits as frequently as I wanted and only using 2 rods. Like, I feel like I've had worse days, that's for sure. I've had worse days, folks. So, I was hoping we'd bust a big flathead again today, like yesterday. But nevertheless, man, it's been a good day. What is this, fish number 5, I guess, unless we count the channel cat. It's 5 blues and a channel cat, I guess. So, yeah, we'll give this one here. We'll give him a little front camera time. We'll make this fish's day, folks. Okay, hold yourself up there, fish. He's long, he ain't very heavy. Long fish. Fun sizer, you know, fun size fish right there. I saw them bubbles coming up. I'm like, this has got potential to be a much bigger fish than I thought, but he's just gassy, I guess. All right, fish. Adios, arrivederci. Aloha. That's all the ways I know how to say goodbye. That's it. Yeah, all right. Well, I may stick around a little while longer since that fish just come through. We'll drop another piece of cut bait down and see if maybe he's got a friend with him potentially. Let's see what happens here. Pull this piece of skipjack back out. I think I'm only going to fish a little while longer. I'm going to put on a big piece. See what happens with it. That one there did eat the cut bait, not the fly, so we'll just mix it up. Experiment a little bit. He's got the fly all wrapped around. What the hell has he done? These dang fish today have tied us up every which way, ain't they? Lord, he's got that fly. I don't even know what the hell. He's tied the fly hair in knots somehow. I'm in the twilight zone here, folks. Is this happening? How does he tie fly hair in knots around around the leader? Like, how does that even happen? I'm confused. I'm in the twilight zone, man. This ain't happening. The anchor rope situation didn't happen. This ain't happening. Me getting stuck by the fat person there at the concert, that did happen for sure. Oh, I think he literally did tie this thing in a knot. Well, he did. He literally tied it in a knot, the damn leader line. All that rolling around he done down there. Sure as a world. I don't know how that happened, but it's literally knotted. Did one of y'all playing jokes on me? Did one of y'all go down there? One of the divers that I allegedly, some people claim I hired to hook these fish on. I've had people accuse me of that, hiring divers to go down there and hook these fish on for me. I don't know how the divers are going to catch them. That's what I want to know, is like, what's the secret for the divers to catch the fish that I supposedly need them to hook? Like, what are they doing? Teach me their ways. Well, this has been an interesting day with picking tangles, ain't it? We got it out, though. That was way more trouble than it somehow should have been, but we got it. All's well in the end. And we'll stick this on there and drop her down. What an ordeal. tied that damn thing in knots somehow. I don't know how he done it, but you all seen it. It happened. Crazy things have happened. Like me going through my midlife crisis and buying toys. I'm telling you all, you're 40 years old and you go buy you a toy from your past, you're gonna like it. Sitting there opening it up, get them nostalgic feelings like when you were a kid and got a new action figure. Yep, you will. All right, well, another fish. I'd hoped for 3 or 4 fish today with 1 or 2 good ones mixed in was what I was hoping for, and we've gotten more fish than that. That second fish we got that got us in the anchor rope was a pretty good fish. I mean, he was a larger fun sizer. Got them other 2 fun sizers. So, I mean, we've had a productive morning out here with quality and enough numbers to keep me entertained. I always want more fish. I always want to catch more and catch bigger. That's just the curse of being a fisherman, but it's been a pretty good session, all things considered. I'm gonna give it a few more minutes here and soak that other cut bait, and then I'm gonna pack up and get out of here. The batteries, we're in the red. We're in the red here on the battery, folks. It's gonna crap out soon, but I'm gonna give it a little while longer here. I'll probably go ahead and turn this camera off because it's about dead, but I'm gonna give it a few more minutes, maybe 10, 15 more minutes here. See if that fish had some more, maybe possibly working up soon with it. And then I'm gonna reel up, make my way back downriver and troll these skipjack rigs, see if we can get some more bait, and we'll see what happens. If I can get bait, maybe the next video will be a cat trip. If not, maybe it'll be a carp trip. If I don't do any good on either one of those, then the next video will probably be a Florida trip video. And so, depending on how the next catfish trip or carp trip goes, there may or may not be a disruption. For you regular viewers that come with me, and some of you do, love you to death, thank you so much. Maybe a slight disruption. I need one more video to keep from having a schedule disruption from the Florida trip before I go. So we'll see what happens. But either way, I should get some content down there in Florida. I hope I do. I want to catch a bunch of fish down there. But nevertheless, we'll wrap this crap up, y'all. Thanks for coming with me today. Glad you all didn't have to sit through the cold like I've had to, although it feels pretty good. It's comfortable now. I'm dressed appropriately. The sun's out. Much more comfortable today than what I was yesterday when I was cold. But we didn't get our flathead today. Yesterday was worth sitting in the cold because I got that big flathead. We didn't get our flathead today, but we did get some blues. So, and we've made the most out of, I mean, we really, all things considered, folks, to get 3 fun sizers and some other fish, only using really 2 skipjack, that's bait conservation at its best right there, folks. That's my best talent of the day. That's more talent than getting the damn anchor rope undone right there. Anyway, y'all, I'm rambling. The battery's gonna crap out soon, so I'll see you all in the next trip, and it'll either be Tennessee or Florida 1. I'll see you then.